Welcome to Gear Shift, a podcast dedicated to all aspects of vehicle ownership with your hosts, Christoph and Casper. So you know how geese fly in a V, right?
Yeah.
Everyone knows that.
Well,
okay.
yeah.
You know that it's scientifically proven why. You know how one side of the V is longer than the other?
Yeah.
There's a reason why for that. Do you know? They've proven this over time.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know why?
Why?
You asked us if we know why 5 times. Spit it out already.
Because there's more geese on that side.
Valid point.
I know.
Boom.
Welcome to Gear Shift, everyone. Welcome back to those who have been listening in the past. I'm Christoph.
I am Casper.
And we're here for episode 8, Ocho. What's 8 in Polish?
ESPN.
What-
Ocho. do you
The
remember?
Ocho.
The Ocho. Do you remember that?
What's 8 in Polish?
Osiem.
Yeah, that. We're here for that.
Ósmy odcinek.
This is going to be the motorcycle, the two-wheeled episode. Oh, no, they have trikes. So I guess it's...
They do have
They're not
trikes.
considered.
But we're not going to talk about that.
We don't take kindly to those people.
They don't belong. You're not from around here, are you, boy?
Can-Am style bitches.
We have some, well, as always, this whole mess is sponsored by a certain fellow, the Bearded Detailer in Center Valley, Pennsylvania. You know what? I'm going to dare to say he's the best detailer in Center Valley.
Is he the only detailer in the Center Valley?
No.
Oh.
But I'm just
okay
going to
then.
say it.
Okay.
He's
Well
the
then.
only, you know what? He's also the only OptiCoat installer. He's the only Laminex installer in Center Valley. So I'm just going to say that. I'm just going to say he's the best.
Say it. Just say it.
He's the best.
Done.
He's
said
the
it.
best. Real nice guy.
best.
He does have a beard. The automotive detailing, trucks, cars, bikes, doesn't matter. He does it. You got it. He does it. And you got it. He does it. You want some ceramic coating? He does that as well. He's got a swag store too. You can buy some stuff online if you want. Cleaning products,
Swag.
OEM maintenance products too. Not just Volkswagen, even though that's all that's up there right now. You can access lots of stuff.
Factual.
You've bought
I bought
Volvo
copious
stuff.
amounts of Volvo parts.
Yep.
Uselessly, but I bought them.
If you ever get rid of that Volvo, the Bearded Detailer is going to go out of business.
Truth.
And you can also buy Laminex on there. And if you use the promo code GearShift, you get 10% off your order. I mean, that's a smooth and creamy 10% too. That's a lot of percent. That's 10%.
All the percents.
That's all the percents.
I love percents.
So yeah, check them out. 570-205-0255. The beardeddetailer.com or the Bearded Detailer on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook.
Sorry about that.
No, you're not.
Yeah. The usual.
We got some maintenance to get into here. Maintenance. We do have
Yeah,
some maintenance.
we do have some maintenance.
We've tapped up the car. We're going to do some maintenance.
This is good.
It is good, right?
It is good. I don't think I've had one of these yet. This is the Dogfish Head.
Same thing we
90-minute
had last
IPA.
week. Well, you had the Hogarden last week, but yeah, it's Dogfish Head 90-minute IPA.
Ooh. I'm not really a big IPA guy. I know
I'm
you're
not.
not either. This
No.
is I like this.
This is my go-to. If I walk into a place I don't like their selection and I see they have Dogfish, I go for the 90. Usually they have a 60-minute. Not many places carry the 90.
This is legitimately the only IPA I've actually drank. The other ones just make me want to poop.
This doesn't do that.
Nope.
I like it, but
And it doesn't taste like cardboard.
no. We have some maintenance to take care of first. The first is the question of the week. The question of the week.
It was a tough one this week.
So
Yeah.
as our answers proved, the question of the week this week was what vehicle broke the car crushing machine that used for the crush test in the safety tests because of its strength. Let me hold on. I got to pull up the contestants here. Our winner this week, who wins a $20 gift card to the Bearded Detailer, is, I'm going to butcher the name, Andriy
Can I take a look at it?
Plaskanka.
No.
No?
Andre?
It's Andre?
Andre Plaskanka.
300ZX Entre?
I was going to say, is that him?
Is that his name?
Plesk. That's him, isn't it? Let me
No
see.
way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Allow me to
I think
tap
so.
into my
Fairly
inner.
certain.
Allow me to tap into my inner Ukrainian here and just say Andriy Plishkanka.
Okay.
I think that'll be
Very
him.
good.
I don't think I was too far off for being an American.
That's
Very
That's
good
him.
comrade.
Plaskanka.
But yeah, he won the answer.
Awesome.
He answered with the 2013 Model S Tesla. There actually was one car that did it sooner than that.
There was.
A 2006 Ford GT was actually the first car
Yeah.
to do that. But the 2013 Tesla Model S will do. That'll suffice for you to win. Congratulations!
Well done, kid.
You win.
You
deserve
the
it.
you the realest MVP right there.
If you're listening to this, you've already got an email.
Boom.
He's probably still asleep.
Well, we're not
Might
live.
be.
We're not live right now. I sent out an email at 8 o'clock. This airs at 8 o'clock.
Fuck it.
It's not a live show. You bring a Mick in your house once, he drinks your beer. You bring him in twice.
He throws you beer.
While we're talking about contests, we're going to bring back. We're going to bring up the contest regarding our introduction,
Correct. So yeah, keep on guessing, guys. We have
Yep.
we've had a couple of submissions. A couple.
and
of
no
people
one's
have-
gotten it right.
No one's gotten it right yet. And I think, even if somebody does get it right, we're not going to reveal it until the very
No,
end anyway.
yeah, the reveal. You have until the 17th at 11:59 p.m. So that's Friday the
it's
17th.
model and engine.
Model and engine.
Model and engine of the vehicle in our introduction.
The one that does the whole
launching and
rev launch,
flyby,
yeah.
all the
Yeah,
good stuff.
that stuff.
Yep.
So guess that and go to beardeddetailer.com/gearshift to submit your answer. With all of our contests too, I want to make clear, I don't think I said this before. It is on our website. If you've won within the last 30 days, you cannot participate again until that 30 days is up. It's a standard contest rule. I think every contest on radio ever is like that.
So like every 4 episodes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, basically.
And you have to be over 18 years of age or older. Pretty much.
Sorry, minors.
That's it. The next up on the maintenance list is episode ideas. If you guys have any ideas for episode, I know we had a live video on Friday talking about, kind of pitch some ideas to us to see what you would like to hear as a consumer, what you would like to hear. And some good ideas were had, some very good ideas, actually. I think we are going to adopt the off-road idea, which I think Michal had said.
And your buddy Dan.
What's that?
And your friend Dan.
Oh yeah, Dan had said it too. That's true. Dan, Mr. Heimbach. So yeah, if you have any ideas, submit it to us. Let us know. We would love to give you guys what you want to hear. And if you want to be a guest on that idea of a show, let us know. Please try to be. Don't say you want to talk about Teslas and you know nothing about Teslas.
Be somewhat aware over the topic you want to
Yeah,
talk about.
if it's something that you feel passionately about and you're kind of a mild expert in your field, then
I want to talk about my stamp collection.
I'll do a stamp episode. Fuck it.
Yes. But yeah,
Okay.
plowing through our gears.
Yeah,
here.
we're that takes care of that.
That was a granny gear on an F-250
Yeah.
from 81.
Oh, we are going to do a truck episode, which it's nice because now we're doing a bike episode.
Yeah.
Every episode's pretty much a car
It should be a
episode,
Jeep
really.
episode.
Uh,
Wranglers
That could be the
only.
off-roading episode, though. I mean,
Yeah, because I think a lot of
Moab
off-roading
fan.
is really
Off-road is
Jeeps.
life.
Yeah, I do have one. The friend I'm thinking about asking to come on that show. He's got a lifted Rubicon that's got a lot of work done to it, and
That's sweet.
he takes it out. I think he daily drives an RX-7. I think a newer one.
they have the
No, RX-8. Sorry,
RX-8.
I was gonna
RX-8.
say, I'm like, there's no such thing as a newer RX.
RX-8.
That's dope.
My bad.
That's cool.
It was his dad's track car, and then he blew the motor, so he bought a new motor.
He just did it.
I think
pretty cool.
I think that's his deal, if I remember correctly.
That's
And
pretty
his,
sweet.
His dad
Yeah,
replaced
absolutely.
the RX-8 with
Keep the car going.
Cayman S, the
Yeah.
14 Cayman S. So
RX-6 were plagued with a bad motor, though. Unfortunately, the Renesis.
Yeah.
Emission stuff.
we would like to welcome back Danny. He's one of the voices you're hearing.
Hey there.
Danny Archibald.
Archbold.
No I.
No
Casper.
I.
No
No
I.
I.
Yeah.
No,
Kakus.
So-
Archibald.
Kakus.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming back.
Of course.
I didn't know
Glad
you were
to
coming
be
back
back.
until a little bit ago.
Well, I missed you so
But
much.
I know. I have that effect on people.
It happens. It's
But-
just a beard.
Now, you're here because you owned a bike?
Yes. I grew up around bikes, and I actually just sold my bike about 6 to 7 months ago. And then I rode a bike recently, and
Ownership
now-
will be anonymous.
And that'll be very soon.
No, the ownership doesn't
purchase.
have to be anonymous.
But we'll
Let
get
me
back. We'll get back to
Fix
that.
my English here. It doesn't have to be anonymous. So we'll
You
get back to
English?
that. I do
No.
occasionally.
And then the other voice you're hearing. So I want to make this very clear. There was a cannibalistic tribe that lives in Center Valley, and they had to move out of the area because they heard that the King Savage was coming to the podcast. So we would like to welcome Mr. Mike.
Sada.
So that is Mike. Everyone. I think we. How many group chats are you in that you're just called the Savage?
Oh
Really?
man, I think
You
It's
lost
gotta be
count.
3 or 4.
there's a new one every week. So
Oh.
So yeah. So Mike's here. Mike
It's
is
kind of a big
a.
deal.
he was invited here obviously as a bike guy. You're a bike guy, really.
Indeed.
So, and I have owned one bike.
And this is my 5th one now. It will be appearing in a photo for our Instagram page later on. We're going to make a little compilation of our own experiences there. But yeah, I just picked up a 08 R6 Raven from good friend Mark back in Queens. Marek, who I actually till most recently didn't know his name was Marek and that it wasn't Mark. But whatever.
What's the Polish spelling?
Well, I know that, but I mean, like, I didn't know. I thought he had American spelling.
Well,
and I had no idea, but that's just because Mark seems to be ashamed. But that's cool, whatever. So yeah,
I think he's the only Polish guy I know that doesn't speak Polish.
It's crazy.
He doesn't.
But yeah, so 5 bikes on my end, and then we have Mike here.
Mike, how many have you had?
3.
Okay.
3
Well, before we
bikes.
get into that, why don't you give a quick elevator pitch as to what got you into cars?
Yeah,
bikes,
cars first.
Whichever. Yeah, cars first, and then we'll transition into the bikes.
Cars. I mean, you kind of grew up around it. I gotta say, like, video games are a big influence for me. Gran Turismo 2 for the PlayStation 1.
Yeah. Hey, agreed.
Gran Turismo
Facts.
2. And I mean, and you just progress. You see people get cars and stuff, and then I got the my first car was the 01 GTI VR6, the Mark IV. And I didn't know what a VR6 was until 12 hours before I bought the car. I was shopping around with my father, like we go into places, dealerships and whatever, like small dealers, and like he goes on eBay because he loves eBay. And
Who doesn't?
yeah,
Shout
right?
out to eBay. If you've never heard of eBay, it's this nice little shopping center that
Crawl
you can
out
buy
from
stuff.
underneath your rock.
Or congratulations, you've just been born.
Yeah. So and he's on eBay and he calls me downstairs. He's like, "Hey, check this car out." I'm like, "Okay, I know what a Volkswagen GTI is." I'm like, "What is this VR6 thing?" I go upstairs to my computer, Google GTI VR6. I'm like, "Oh,
And then you
I
YouTube the
want
video
that.
of the sound, and you're like, oh.
I really want that. This
is
needs
prior
to happen.
YouTube, or-
Let's go check it out." What?
Is this prior YouTube days?
No, it wasn't. I mean, YouTube started in 06, I believe. So yeah, so the VR got me into Volkswagens and cars.
And check engine lights?
And check. Listen, honestly speaking, none of my Volkswagens, I've had 3, have had a check engine light for more than a couple weeks. I fixed them right away.
Never had a check engine light. They only lasted a couple weeks. That's
Well,
it.
I mean, when
Never hit the month mark.
Hey,
No, I will say, I know Volkswagen gets a bad rap for, your check engine light's on? Oh, it's running normally then. But you know what? I think most of it comes down to maintenance.
Of course.
You take care of it, it'll treat you right.
Absolutely.
Okay, you're going to have your problem.
Yeah.
You're gonna have that with any car. You're going to have something that is going to go bad. Think about it this way. All parts, yes, they're made by machines, but guess who makes the machines? People.
yeah.
We design them, and people are flawed.
The people.
So there's going to be a problem with the parts because people are in charge.
Yeah, but you also, Mike, branched off away from the Volkswagen scene for a little while, didn't you?
I did. I've had 4 cars. My first car, like I said, was the Mark IV VR. Then I had an RX-8.
Prep.
An RX-8. So speaking of RX-8,
Oh, that's right, yeah.
earlier
Yeah.
I had an RX-8 it was a short time. It was kind of a weird purchase because I bought it for a really good price. So I kind of rushed into selling the Mark IV, picked up the RX-8. Long story short, the title stuff never worked out because I bought it from a friend. And he just bought it back from me for a few $100 more. So kind of rented the car long term, but and then I'm like, you know what, I missed the VR sound. I got to get back into a VR. So then I got a 24 valve VR Mark IV, and now I'm in a Mark 6.
So wait, you had a 12 valve before?
First car was a
The
12
first car.
valve.
Okay. So not the one I met you with.
No, the one you met
No.
him with was the 24
Okay.
valve
The
The
already.
gray one was a 24.
Well, I knew that was a
24.
24. I didn't know if that was the first car.
No,
Okay.
that was my third car. And now
Gotcha.
I got the Mark 6.
Cool.
Yeah.
Which is, you have a GTI.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Love
Two,
GTIs.
two-door?
It's a cool car.
Yeah.
isn't it?
Okay.
Fantastic.
Never had a 4-door. All 4 cars have been 2-doors.
You had a
Wow.
3-door.
Yeah, the RX-8's a 3-door.
Don't catch me slipping.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
How
It's
is
got
it?
one suicide door.
Yeah.
Negative 2. Both
Is it?
sides.
Oh, does it have
They're
2? I
both
thought it
sides.
had
They're on
one.
both
I could have
sides.
swore it was advertised
They're
as
on both
one.
sides.
Do I have to fact check this one too?
No, you do not. No, you do not for sure. Definitely.
Mike
on
knows
both
he had to take
sides.
one of those doors off.
I-
We can edit that one out if you want to, big guy.
No, it's okay.
Gung, gung, gung.
Listen,
It does. It does have 4.
Son of a
yeah,
bitch.
yeah.
It has 4, so you have on a 4-door.
Yeah. So technically,
I thought it was only 3. That's weird.
No,
I could
no.
have swore it was advertised
Um,
with 3.
All right, so you've had your cars. Now let's go in. So being around cars and
Yeah,
just
it was
games. Yeah,
There's just external factors, but
it was just fun for you.
How about bikes then?
well, you got to have a car at one point, I guess.
Well,
in
yeah.
your life,
yeah.
so it's
Now
like-
you grew up in the city though, or
yeah, I grew up like in Queens, pretty much.
okay. So because I know Casper said on when he was doing his introduction there with cars, he didn't have a need for it living in the city.
as
much.
Yeah, well, like I mentioned, like nobody in my the only person in my family that was really into cars or is into cars is my uncle back in Poland. But I mean, I haven't seen him on a regular
Right.
basis since I was 6. So it's not really. Everybody's like, oh, you share that with him, but it's like I think it kind of developed on its own, just again, like Mike said, from external factors, just friends, video games, and stuff like that. And eventually, like I had a couple of friends. One had an old Golf, and then another friend had like a Chevy Trailblazer, like nothing really like car-esque. But then I ended up getting that free Mustang,
Right.
that whopping 4-cylinder Mustang.
It would have to be free.
It was absolutely free, and it just kind of took off from there. But what I was gearing towards is that kind of how you got into bikes as well, or is that a little bit of a different story?
But bikes was my father. My dad's been into bikes for years, back in Poland, and there's actually a photo of me on his old, I think he had like an 80s Goldwing.
Oh, cool.
I'm like toddler, plopped me on the seat, hoping I didn't roll off of it. Snap the photo, So it was my father that influenced me to get a bike, which in the long run it helped me out because, there was no opposition to get a motorcycle. Most people are like, oh man, I really want to get a bike, but my parents will kill me or kick me out of the house,
Right.
that kind of usual bullshit. So for me, it was like, oh, great, I could get a motorcycle. My father's going to be fully supportive, and, he taught me how to ride.
Yeah.
And that was that,
Which is interesting because I think a lot of parents, when any sort of motorcycle is introduced, they're like, no, absolutely not. You're not getting one. You're going to kill yourself. You're going to hurt yourself with that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm a parent.
Yeah.
I would
I
dare to
think-
argue that factor that you're mentioning is actually a lot of the reason why people are more reckless on bikes because they're trying to break away. It's like with anything, you know what I mean?
Well, you're going to have responsible people and you're going to have period.
Yeah.
With cars and
True.
bikes. You're going to have that regardless of anything. But I know when I bought my motorcycle, well, I was old enough that my parents really didn't have a say.
What did you have, by the way?
I had an 03 Harley Sportster 883 XL. So it's the 100th anniversary edition. Yeah, I know it's an 883. It's a small one, but
Well, it's still a cool bike.
actually,
though, man.
it had quite a bit of pep for someone who weighed 200 pounds to be on it. I was too tall of a frame to be on that bike, though. To be honest,
Just long-term uncomfortable.
yeah. Well, no, I took it on I did a full cruise with it one day. I did a bike run with some people, and for me it was fine. Crystal could not last more than half an hour on it. The back seat was just too small, too narrow.
Yeah.
She was in pain, but no, I didn't. I could ride it all day. My back would eventually give out, but because of the way I had to sit, the frame was too small for me being taller. I would not recommend a Sportster to anyone over like 5'10". To be honest with you, I would not. But yeah, my parents didn't have a say whether I owned a bike or not, so I didn't care. I just did it. But I think if I was younger and my parents did have a say, they probably would have said, absolutely not.
Yeah.
You're going to hurt yourself. You're going to kill yourself with that. So it is interesting to me. And now again, my parents aren't bike people.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to hear that you had parents that were supportive.
Yeah.
Or at least your dad was. Your mom supportive of it too.
Yeah,
or
I mean, mom wasn't too
The moms
happy
get used
about
to
it,
it.
but it's like she kind of gets into it. So
that's a mom thing. Moms are.
exactly.
It's my
Exactly.
baby.
Yeah. It's like you get any bike you want as long as it's not a sport bike. Well, I've already had 2, so
You know what? No matter how old you get, if you're sitting on a bike and your mom sees you, she only is seeing that picture of you sitting on the Goldwing. That's it.
yeah.
That's what she
Yeah.
sees. As a parent, that's what she sees.
My mom sees me in the newspaper. Get off that bike! Oh my god! You really shouldn't be riding it like that. Ma, it's okay. I got this. You're fine.
All right. So
you're on your second bike then, Mike, correct?
Third.
Third.
because you just picked that
Ooh,
one up.
that's
right.
interesting.
The-
What bike did you have
My
before?
first bike.
Yeah.
And
Ah.
I got to call it my first bike because I mean technically it was mine. It was a 1994 Honda XR 250L.
Okay.
L for luxury.
Exactly. Nail on the head. So it was. I mean, it was a dirt bike. It was like a trail bike. 250, obviously, single cylinder, air cooled. and I got it for free because
That's a win.
That's my
Right?
favorite
Yeah.
price.
I got it for free because a project that my father was doing in the city, some guy was like, hey, listen, I got these 2 bikes. They don't run. The guy actually beat one of the bikes with a shovel because it wouldn't start, like, anger problem.
That's a reasonable way to do.
Right?
It
I
was
mean,
definitely
listen,
Irish.
I know.
fingers
I know Kevin's listening, and he's a mechanic,
Yeah.
and he actually has a shovel in his toolbox
Yeah.
for those exact situations.
right? I mean, why
To
wouldn't
get
you?
the starter to work.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
What's the matter with your car? Don't start. Hang on.
Let me get
I'll be
my,
100
let me
bucks,
get my 12-inch spade. Beat the shit out of this car.
So we got 2 bikes out of that deal. 84 Honda CB750, which got the long end of the shovel because it got beat really bad. The gas tank was bad.
That's a nice bike, though.
Yeah,
It's a
very
really nice
smart
bike. Yeah.
it was great, man. And that thing, I mean, once it really had just aesthetic problems. Motor-wise, it was solid.
Yeah.
Once we got the battery, changed all the fluids and stuff, it started right up.
Those CBs
Right up.
have like a
Dude,
cult following.
they're pretty
though.
they're
They have
pretty
a cult
bulletproof,
following.
too.
People
Mhm.
they do cafe style out of
Oh,
them.
yeah.
There's
and
actually
they
a
look
guy, yeah,
sharp.
nearby my house, like a block away, that I walked by walking a dog one time.
Is that the
and
one with the Bernie sign?
The Bernie sign.
Okay.
There's
Yeah.
people with the Bernie sign that have a CB750 Super Sport. I think there was a Super Sport, right?
Oh,
Either a
yeah,
Sport
yeah,
or a
yeah.
Super Sport. Cafe'd, done and
They
ready
did
to go.
I think they did a 500 or a 550 Super Sport, and then they did the 750 Super Sport.
What year was
Asked him
that?
right off the bat.
I'm sorry?
What year?
84. I'm fairly certain it was
Probably
84.
gonna post that picture.
Doesn't Andrew have, what is he, a CB?
He has a CB350, which is the smallest
smallest
four-cylinder
four-cylinder,
ever
yeah.
produced, which is his pitch.
So they look
But-
weird stock to me. Is that it?
Let me see.
I can't spin it for fear of.
For fear of losing.
That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. I mean, I think.
Yeah, that's
like that.
yeah.
Yep, that's pretty
Nice,
much it.
cool. But yeah, go ahead and continue, Mike. Sorry to cut you off.
No worries. And the
I'm worried.
what was it? The 94 Honda. That was mine, right? So I got the and
This is an 89 Honda. How dare you?
Glad we all had that reference queued up.
see, so you know who Regular Car Reviews is.
What? That was Employee of the
wasn't-
Month.
Oh,
That was
my
employee
bad.
of the
Oops.
month. Yeah.
Oops.
That was Zach Shepard.
Yeah, Zach Shepard is it.
94 Honda XR. No cosmetic damage because I mean the only thing metal on that thing was the gas tank and the
Four-stroke.
frame.
That's a
Everything,
four-stroke,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
4-stroke 250. Everything else is plastic, so it's like gas tank, whatever. The guy apparently ran it with very low to little oil, if any at all, and it what did it need? It needed. I took the head apart, not the head, but the valve cover off, and it needed a new camshaft because it was a single overhead, and rocker arms.
Okay.
Otherwise, once I got it timed and
That's not,
everything,
that's not a huge job to do.
no, it wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad. And then, man, it started up. I had a free bike for the price of some parts, which I got at OEM, which wasn't
Yeah.
too bad. I think I paid maybe $200.
I was going to say that they're cheap parts.
Yeah.
It blows my mind what bikes and cars, what people will throw away, and I guess for a term, will throw
Yeah.
away just for the sake of it. Well, it's not running. I don't want to dump the money into
Yeah.
it. We're getting off topic.
Yes, we are.
So,
So
okay.
Mike
So
went through his bikes.
No, wait. That last bike you had,
That's the
Oh,
first
yeah.
bike.
that was the same as
I
you.
apologize.
Or,
So
Yeah.
that's so you had your
the 94 Honda.
the 94 Honda, and then
that
not
I
long
sold-
after we met, right?
Yeah, well, actually,
Yeah.
I sold that. I sold that Honda, and then I saved up money and bought my first car. And then
Yeah.
I was on the hiatus with bikes. My father always had at least 2 bikes, so whenever I wanted to ride, I just borrowed one of his. He was totally cool with it. It was, it was a big bike. It was like an 1100cc Kawasaki. So
800.
1100.
Oh,
1100cc Kawasaki ZR 1100. It's
Yeah.
it looks kind of like the CB. It was like a 93, and man, like you learn on a 250, and then you get on that on the highways in New
Big
York.
difference.
Wow, like that's like I'm comfortable with big bikes. It's not a problem.
Yeah.
So
Well,
and-
now you are.
Yeah.
Back then,
but I mean, it was scary because it was my father's first bike that he bought in America. So he still has it to this day.
Oh, wow.
I don't want to
Nice.
mess that
Yeah,
up.
absolutely.
And then I bought Casper's bike.
Yeah. So the ZZR that I mentioned, which was my third bike, it was,
ZZ Top.
ZZ Top.
My
So
bad.
I had a 07 ZZR 600 that I picked up, and it all kind of again stems back to that whole Volvo shit because I was feeling all down in the dumps about not having my wonderful project car running the way it's supposed to be, and I wanted something quick and fun to mess around with during the summer. So I picked up the ZZR in May of 2015, and I had it for literally just about a little bit over 2 months, and
Yep.
I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna sell it, and I put all of 600 miles on it.
Title came in. Okay, time to get rid of it.
Basically, and and I think this was kind of what, not long after you and I met, we hung out a couple times, but nothing
Yeah.
crazy, and it was like
Yeah.
a couple months in, and I had it listed, but Mike expressed some interest, and so I ended up selling it for essentially exactly what I got it for, just
Yeah.
to Mike. So
Did he
yeah.
express that mouth?
Actually, I
If I
couldn't.
know Mike.
I actually couldn't.
And I know Mike.
I actually couldn't start it.
It's
Remember?
not that hour of the night yet, man.
Remember when I
Come
couldn't
on.
start it when you came to see it?
Really?
You don't remember? I was trying to start it. I
No.
actually had to push it into and pop it off pop the clutch off
Was
the.
it-
Oh, God.
What kind of fucking show are you running? You tried
remember
to rip
you
off
guys-
your own friend?
You and Dom
don't
came to the
remember.
apartment, and I couldn't start it, and I had to
Fucking
kind of
tacos.
roll it off and pop it off the clutch, drive around the community, and then I gave it to you. So Mike picked up that bike, and you just got rid of it recently, which is over about almost a year and a half now.
Yeah. I guess so.
Disclaimer.
I had it for
fantastic bike.
a season.
Yeah, I love that
almost
bike.
two full
Fantastic
seasons.
bike.
Almost two full seasons. Yeah.
I don't remember you. I don't remember you having that bike.
That's the one that you saw in my old apartment complex, the red one, the candy red looking one.
I only remember the one you blew the motor in,
Fuck you.
which was
it
also
a great
red.
bike.
Which was also red. Well, it wasn't that great apparently.
Mine was.
No, the work done on it was horrible.
There's an interesting point about the ZZR. Since we're talking about motors, if you blew the motor on the ZZR, then you're doing something really bad because that motor is bulletproof.
Yeah.
That ZZR, that was okay. It's a rebadged ZX6R. We know that,
Yeah.
right?
That's yeah.
It's Christoph.
I
It's a
don't.
rebadged. Okay, so in 99 to 01, that was the ZX6R. That was
Okay.
that was the Ninja. That was a really successful platform. It was a really successful platform, and they brought it back from 05 to 08, I believe.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Same bike.
Nothing
Literally nothing
changed except the badge.
Yeah.
And insurance went down too because it was no longer they classed it
It
out
went
of
from sport to touring.
to touring.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it
that's
was
weird.
great. I was paying like $50 for full coverage.
Wasn't the front fairing a slightly bigger?
No, the
Style?
only thing they
Because it looked a little bulkier than a regular
there was
Ninja.
there was a facelift point. I think the 99s had a single headlight, and the I think in 2000 I think they went
up
to
to
a
the-
double
yeah.
headlight.
Okay.
So there was a facelift, and the fairing stay, which is like a little cage that the front fairing sits on. On the older ones, the 01s and stuff, they had like a bar, 2 bars that went over
Coming
the
from the
handlebars.
Yeah,
it went
I
over the
remember that.
handlebars.
And they got rid of
Horrible
that.
looking.
Yeah, it's what people
They
usually
look like
do.
shit,
Yeah,
honestly.
yeah. I mean, it's like a classic.
Yeah, it is.
Sport bike
Old
look,
style.
but yeah. But so the ZZR, then they went to the hidden fairing stay, so it was nice and clean and stuff. But it was a great bike.
Oh.
Like it was so funny telling people like, oh, so like what year is that bike? And they're like, oh well, I mean, I told them it's an 07. I'm like, they're like, what? Like it's. It
Why is
doesn't
it
look like
carb-
an 07.
Yeah.
Yeah, like why is it carbureted? Like an 07 ZX6R looks nothing like it. Like I have right now an 08 ZX6R, which is the 07 08.
They look nothing alike.
Nothing at all, you know. And I'm like, well, I have to give the whole spiel again. I'm like, well, it's technically a bike from like 8 years ago, you know. So
It's crazy they did that. It's weird.
Yeah, I mean, it worked out in their favor, obviously.
Absolutely.
But, yeah.
So, and what did you just pick up so we
The-
can complete
The
your?
08 ZX6R, which is actually looks like an 08 bike. 08
Yeah, it
07,
does, yeah.
08 07.
You
and-
brought it here after when you bought it.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
Me and Danny,
Yeah,
we
picked
it
came
up
by.
in a
We
But
fucking
it's snowing.
snowstorm.
we chilled.
And actually, yeah, and what was nice is you didn't ride in the cab. You liked the bike so much, so Danny drove the truck, and the bike was strapped into the bed, and Mike actually rode on the bike on the
whole
bike,
way
yeah,
home.
to
Yeah.
New York City, which is nice because you don't need a helmet.
With it running. With it running and revving.
Yeah.
And he going through you didn't actually shift the gears because that's just silly, but
No.
you did rev it like
Yeah.
you were going through the gears.
Yeah, the only
And-
thing he had to do to make it seem more official was actually pay for the tolls on the bike as well
Yeah.
as they
Yeah.
were passing through.
He offered. He did offer.
Yeah, and I give you tons.
I
of
have
credit
my
for doing
motorcycle one.
And I dragged knee on the on ramps and off ramps. I mean,
You
I'm
should've seen
telling
it.
you, like off the bed of the pickup truck, I was like,
You want
it
to talk
was-
about Apex? This guy, he knows, and I have a lot of. I tip my hat to you for the amount of respect I have for that drive back from Pennsylvania
I
to New
appreciate
York.
that. Too.
When you put baby powder on the seat, you know shit's about to get bad. Which is true, actually. No, that is true. Racers
I
do
know,
that. You
yeah.
put baby powder on the seat.
Are you
'Cause it
sure-
allows
are you sure it's
it
baby
allows
powder?
motion.
Are you sure it's baby
Or
powder?
talcum.
I'm never sure.
What if it's the other kind of powder?
Sorry, it's stuffy down here.
Schneif.
Why did they do that? So is that for like be able to
So like if
slip
you're
back
leaning,
and forth?
yeah,
so you're not,
if you're tossing the bike, because if you're coming in and out of a corner, you're gonna be slowing. You're throwing your weight to the other side to bring
Right.
the knee down and carry
Yeah.
through. I'm sorry, I'm like dragging knee off the mic.
Yeah. Because apparently, like when you're doing track riding, like
You're moving
your butt
constantly.
is not on the seat,
No.
like full weight.
Mm.
Your full weight's like on your knees or
Yeah.
on your feet rather.
And
Well-
with that note, let's move into Danny's experience
Yeah.
with bikes.
I had a Huffy.
they have 2 wheels.
I had a Huffy, and then I had a Mongoose, and neither of them had training wheels. No.
So the motorized bikes, please.
So yeah, my father was always into bikes. If you remember from the last episode, like my father grew up my parents were from Ireland. My dad had bikes in Ireland. Came here. His first bike, which just like Mike's father still has, is a '79 Suzuki GS 1100S, which is the Wes Cooley replica. And Wes Cooley was a racer
Yeah.
back then in the 70s and 80s, and the GS 1000 was the first bike to step into that sport bike. Yes, I would like a beer. Thank you. The GS 1000 was the first bike to step into that sport bike class, because the CB 750s and the CB 500s, they were still kind of a touring style bike, more of a relaxed look. But the GS 1000, they had an 1100, and I think it had a 1200 as well. I'm making a mess here.
Can't take you anywhere.
I know, I'm sorry. That was the first bike to break into that sport bike class, and they just dominated competition. It was unreal. I don't know. That was just like the brief history he gave me on the bike. I never really cared much to look into it. My personal experience was I started on dirt bikes. I got my first bike when I was 12. I had a 2000. Sorry, I wasn't 12. I was 13. I had a 2001 Yamaha TTR 225. Fantastic starter bike for anyone who wants to get their kids into bikes. TTR 225 wasn't that fast, but it had all the torque in the world. It was a 4-cylinder, had all the torque to get up whatever you did. My father was very adamant about getting me onto a bike and joining with him because, like I said, he had been on bikes his entire life. He used to race. He raced for Team Promotion for years. I think he actually coached for 2 of those years. He had a Honda F3 was his first track bike, and then he got a Gixxer 600, and he mopped the course on a Gixxer. It was like mopping thousands. It was unreal. The man was good. Man knew, and he got on the knee and just dragging elbow and everything. So it was cool because when I was younger, I used to go to all the track days. I've been to Summit Point, Maine. I've been to Summit Point Racetrack. I've been to VIR more than a handful of times. Pocono is like a second home, and I go to Pocono now for drift events. And Shenandoah. Did we go to Shenandoah? I think we did Shenandoah as well once. So that was a cool thing to be at when I was younger and see all these bikes. Like this was the.
How old are you during this point?
It would have been from 12 to, I would say, 16. Because when I turned 16, I turned into a fucking shitbag, and then was
As
like that,
every 16-year-old
it is
does.
true. And you know what? And I instantly regret it. And as a notice to people who are listening to the show, if there's a younger crowd, if you have a father or a family member that is into motorsport or is doing their own thing, realize what it's going to be like when you want to do it. Because I realize how much I value the support of my friends and family when I go to events, and I thought it was more important to hang out and friggin' jerk off and do bullshit with my friends instead of going and supporting them. Just remember, like that is a thing. You will think about it 5 years from now. It might sound ridiculous, but that is important. That support, and it's a learning experience. Who knows? If I would have stuck with it, would I be racing bikes now instead of drifting? And you never know. You don't know where it would have taken you. It makes it that much more fulfilling for you to be loving and doing what you do, and then having your people, your constituents.
I'd like to thank and welcome all of my constituents for joining within the motorsport community that is bike racing and automotive drifting and such.
Thank you very much. I'd like to redistribute the tire spin to all the constituents within the community.
But yeah, so you were saying, Danny?
Bernie Sanders.
Bernie's here.
Oh, he just stepped out. We're sorry, folks. You guys just missed Bernie Sanders.
Oh, look, he just had a heart attack. There he goes. That's it.
Oh, but he's good. He's back up. He has that government health care. He's good.
Fuck
So
me.
he's
He just
out.
doesn't quit, does he? So
Anyway.
yeah, so like I was doing I was going with him with the racing, and then I phased out. So, but I had always had an interest in bikes. We got to my first bike. I was brought up on the dirt. Did dirt biking from the beginning, and then moved from the TTR. Had a KLX 250 4-stroke.
That's a Kawasaki for those who don't know.
Yeah, Kawasaki KLX 250. It was a dual sport street legal bike. Lights, indicators, everything from the factory. And that bike, my father had a 2008 and I had a 2007. And we used to do enduro and sanctioned running events. So we did Lost Trails, the Pine Barrens. We're 100 miles a day in the dirt. Those are good days. You take a lot of pictures, Casper.
I had to.
So I did all dirt bike riding, and I'd always played with, if my friends had street bikes, I would take the street bike out,
Yeah.
do whatever, but I never had one. Then I bought the SV650, and that was last year. I actually had bought a really, really shitty E46 BMW that was a total
It was an impulsive buy, wasn't it?
beer break.
Cheers. 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 Wait. I gotta get you over there.
Anyway,
Wait,
yes,
wait,
Casper, it was a massively
gonna say,
impulsive decision.
yeah, I was gonna
sat
say.
there and I yelled at Dom, who was on the show last week. I yelled at Dom and I was like, how the fuck did you let me buy this? He was like, you seemed really determined. And I was like, I was. Here's the thing, and here's what me, and it's my biggest, I would say it's one of my biggest flaws. If I go up to something and I put it in my head that I am buying this and I'm coming home
Yeah.
with it, if I have to drive more than 40 minutes, even if it's on fire, I'll probably buy it and drive it home.
Yeah.
That being said, send all vehicle sales inquiries to the Geared Shift Podcast at
And then forward them
gmail.com.
to me.
Casper
On
has
fire
a
preferred.
Volvo.
Except I
Yeah,
wouldn't buy a Volvo.
there's a Volvo.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Volvo drift wagon.
Even I have my limits.
I have a 76 Alice Chalmers in the driveway.
That I would take over.
my God.
I would take that. In all seriousness,
We talked about tractors
yeah,
one
no,
time. Yeah,
I will absolutely. We'll do a tractor episode.
It's opticoded.
So I bought the SV650. I traded the car for the SV650. The guy who I bought this bike off of was a fucking basket case, to say the least. So he had came off the bike and he's like, "Oh, hold on, I'm just struggling with my helmet a little bit." And I'm like, "Okay, some people have that problem, I guess."
You're gonna need the jaws of life to get
The
that.
fucking guy just went and got brain surgery. He had a massive bandage. He's like, "Yeah, I can't let it take off my bandage." And I'm just like, "Dude, what the fuck are you doing? You should not be on a bike." This is the last thing. He's like, "Yeah, man, but it's like my only way of transportation, you know?" He was an older, like 40-year-old Spanish guy from Long Island. And I was just like, damn, the struggle.
Like, I could have met you at your
It
house.
gets so much better. So then I'm overlooking the bike, and I'm just like, okay. First thing I noticed were the fork seals were shot. Not a big deal. It's fairly cheap to replace, and they're easy. So fork seals, and I'm looking at them. Front and rear tire are completely dry rotted
Oh yeah.
and old.
Okay.
They were fucked. Well,
Yeah,
you
they
remember
were
those,
bad.
Mike? They were bad, like bad.
flat spotted too.
The
but-
front,
Really?
the
Yeah.
front brake calipers, both sides, because it's twin discs on either
Yeah,
side.
correct.
Overseas, right?
Both were seized.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
All he had was rear brakes. He had no fork seals and dry rotted tires front and back. And and the chain was I think it was factory chain. The bike was pretty good. It only had 9,000 miles on it, so it's not that bad.
And you bought it.
Of course. Like I said, on fire. And
well, like-
he was just because he was 31 minutes out, so he just almost made the cut. you
Because
know?
like
well, I traded
you're pitching him as a crazy man for owning this.
No,
But
driving
you
that.
bought
No, buying it is not the problem because it
Yeah.
was very easily
I
fixed.
know.
I fixed everything I had everything done in a week. I rebuilt the calipers in the garage, and I was, I think, $300 in, $400 in, and that was with a brand new chain. You spilled beer all over yourself. You
That's
should
not
be
bad.
ashamed. So it was good, and the bike lasted me for the whole summer, and I put 3,000 miles on it, and never ever gave me an issue. Also, anybody wants a convenient oil change? SV650. Tell me not, Casper.
Yeah. No.
Best
Absolutely,
oil changing
yeah.
bike
Correct.
ever.
And why is that?
Because the oil filter is directly on the bottom and it has no fairings. It's a naked style
Yeah,
bike.
it's a naked style bike, so it's
you
right
just
there.
unscrew it and that's it. Boom, boom, done.
So similar to like okay, so I know very little about sport bikes because I've only owned and been really
Well, we can actually at
right.
this point segue to you because that was Danny's most recent bike. So.
right. So
and now I'm looking at an FC08.
Boom.
for
Like
me,
an asshole.
for Harley, all oil changes are easy because everything is exposed. There's no plastics to deal with. It's all exposed. And actually, this is one thing I wanted to talk about this always confused me very early on, how you have, so when you're in the sport bike community, you hear about like, oh, it's a 600, it's a 650, which is CC, correct? And then you look at Harley,
Correct.
they pitch theirs at like 883, 1200, 1700. Well, why are these numbers bigger, but the bikes aren't faster?
It's weight. A lot of it is weight.
Right.
Most of it is weight,
And
actually,
it's also how the bike's geared. You know,
Well, that's like Mustangs and GTIs.
facts.
But does it have anything to do with? And I'm kind of asking for me, and I'm kind of asking for people who don't know as well too. Does it have anything to do with the bless you? Is it have anything to do
Gesundheit.
a Honda? What? Can you say that again? Does that have anything to do with the setup? Are they V twin? What is a typical sports setup? Sport bike?
Four-cylinder.
They're a
Inline
four-cylinder.
four. The
Super high
SV650
compression.
that Casper and I had was actually a V twin,
Yeah.
which they do make V twin sport bikes,
Okay.
and you'll usually see a V twin with a slightly bigger displacement. However, it is
Hence the 650 over the 600.
Right.
However, it is geared. The bike has been geared more towards torque than ever at top speed. Like the SV topped. I topped the SV at like a 125.
I think that's what I hit. I
SV
think
was
I-
four-cylinder?
Was
Two.
no
Two.
Two, okay.
twin. And would never go. Mike's CZR 600 would do like 150.
And Cass, what do you have now? That's the
I have an R6.
That'll,
what
That's
is
a
that?
Yamaha
that'll go
R6.
light speed.
and what
Yeah.
is what motor is that?
That's a 600. Four-cylinder 600.
Four-cylinder.
Fuel
okay.
injected.
Correct. Fuel injected 600.
Okay. And I will say, for anyone who's ever ridden a bike or has not ridden a bike, if you've only ridden carburetor and have never ridden a fuel injected, is a world of difference. Cars, you can kind of
Get away with it.
yeah, it comes down to weight, I think, for the most part.
agree
It depends
with
on the
that.
car. It depends on the car.
Right.
But you can kind of fight. But I think there's a more noticeable difference between
Yeah, well,
bikes.
the immediate one would be you'll still have it like on a newer bike. They still make carburetor bikes.
Yeah.
I think what was the last one? Like,
Who does
Well,
that?
your bike was
Well, my bike,
2007.
that's the thing. like-
Yeah.
And you still have a manual choke in 2007.
Yeah.
Really?
Because carburetor, you have to have a manual
Right.
choke because you have to.
But
Open
that's the thing.
choke
It's
on a cold
it's an
start.
older bike that was carried over and
Right.
rebranded. That's
Yeah.
what it comes down
But
to.
they still have carbureted bikes coming. I think they still have like
Didn't
Ducati
they
had.
didn't they start? Didn't most Japanese manufacturers start replacing and like even the lower like the 250s and 300s are
yeah.
fuel injected? I think at this
Now-
point.
Well, like Honda's a perfect example, right? So going
outdated friggin'
Well, no,
gauge
like remember the
clusters and
250 that I said that I had, right? So like they have a 650,
Jesus.
they have a 650 version that was the XR 650 XL, just a bigger motor. It's a dual sport, street legal, trail bike, and that thing I don't know the start of the production year, but it was like mid 90s, early 90s. They're still making that bike till I think 2015.
Wow.
There's literally no difference carbureted between the 2014 model, for example, or a 2001 model. No difference.
They're still making carbs in that?
Yeah.
Really?
It's a single cylinder 650. It's a thumper, right? So, like, I looked into it because I thought about buying one again.
But you're not going on a long cruise with that bike.
No, but, like, I mean, a 650, but, it's a lot more cruising capabilities
Right.
than a 250. But, like, people are like,
Slap
listen,
a set of street
if you want
tires
a Honda XR 650, don't even bother with, like, a 2010, 2014. Buy an 01. There's no difference. Maybe
it's cheaper.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So
That's crazy.
That bike has been unchanged for years.
But I know that's a big thing with. Like,
But it works.
It does.
That's the
It's-
thing.
Yeah.
Honda,
If it ain't broke,
yeah.
Don't fix it. It's
Correct.
absolutely right.
Yeah.
But I know with Harley, that's their big thing. They usually have a bigger number. Harley is usually just V twin though.
Yeah. Well, I actually wanted to comment on that with the Harleys, right? They're, like for example, like American V8s, right? They're not as
Yeah.
high of a compression. Like turbo, like European turbos are like whatever turbos nowadays.
You can have a
They're
smaller
like
engine with more power.
high compression,
Yeah.
exactly. So that's the thing with sport bikes. They're like super high compression. They're like running 13.9, 13.5 to 1.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, a Harley's like redlining at $4,000, and my bike,
Not a little higher now. But
I-
yeah,
I mean,
you're right. You're right.
Yeah, I was
you're
actually
right.
gonna ask you, Mike. What's your current red line?
16,500.
Same.
RPM.
I'm right at 16 on the R6.
and let me
Correct.
tell you
Wow.
something.
Yeah.
I've ridden that R6, and you'll
Yeah,
get to like
so have
you'll
I.
go from 0 to 12 grand, and you're like, wow, this is amazing. And third gear will lift you at 100. It's gonna happen. You go past the 12 mark, and it's an entirely different bike.
Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah.
it just goes more.
So do they have? Does any bike manufacturer have?
Mine
any
does
sort
not
of
have
valve
variable
lift?
timing. That's not.
Is
no,
it
mine does
variable
not.
timing or
I think
variable
it's just
valve
the
lift?
It's
Ignition
got that VTEC,
advance,
yo.
yeah.
What's that?
What's that?
Ignition
You got
advancing,
VTEC.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But variable valve timing, I have not seen.
It's just the way the
bikes.
power band is, realistically, right? I mean, is that what it comes down to? Yeah.
It's a lot of it has to do with ignition timing because
Yeah.
I mean, for example, not that it has anything to do with it, but like modern sport bikes, they don't really have like there's not a lot of bikes that have O2 sensors. First of all, like my bike is an 08, no O2 sensor. So like a lot of it, yeah.
Wait, do bikes have O2 sensors?
Yeah,
Some
Tommy's
do.
SR has
Some
two,
do.
doesn't it?
Yeah, the SR.
Air cooled, most simplistic bike you could buy, brand new.
2015.
2015.
Was erected from,
old
like, 80s.
school CB style
Where do
bike,
you-
like we were talking earlier.
Where do you put it?
Huh? It's on the
on the header.
Chris.
Why- oh,
Where would you put it? Up your ass?
I mean, if
well, I
you
mean, the readings might not be accurate.
Yeah,
but-
let's see what his BAC is today. Let's stick an O2 sensor up his ass and go for it.
No, but I'm confused because
Yeah.
again, I come from the American market where you don't have.
Actually, I think Harleys. I think Harleys do. Some Harleys do have.
Now I've been out of the bike game
I think
for a
Harleys
while.
have an O2. I'm pretty
What,
sure some
Harleys?
of Harleys have
Yeah,
an O2.
well, I mean, they're
That's gotta be
try to
newer.
get like an old Harley, carved Harley
Oh,
to idle
no.
properly. It's
Well,
like,
but it's not supposed to. Here's the thing. And
Well,
I-
03 was last year for carburetor.
oh yeah,
for
we
Harley,
could fact
yeah.
check this too.
That was the thing that mine was the 100th anniversary. That was the last year they did carbureted.
Yeah.
So I was happy to have a carburetor. The first time I drove a fuel injected bike, I was like, holy shit, this is so much.
Yeah.
The response, it's so much responsive. You can hold your power for much smoother, much more linear power. But again, now the difference between the two bikes, between sport and touring,
Yeah.
huge difference.
Oh, yeah.
Gearing, where
Position,
the weight is,
body
seating
position, period.
yeah.
The first time I rode your
SV,
your
yeah.
SV, I wanted to blow my brains out.
Really?
And that's a
hate it.
touring. And
No,
that's
the
a touring
SV.
bike.
I found the SV to be an incredibly comfortable bike.
Comfort-wise,
I did not like it. All the weight was on my wrist.
I could imagine him on the R6
you're
right
gonna
now.
hate my bike or the R6.
Oh, seriously,
You're gonna
yeah.
hate it.
But like I just took his bike around the block.
Yeah.
But it's all seating position. So I went from having a bike where all the weight sits in the small of your back.
Yeah.
That's where all your weight sits, is in your ass
Yeah.
and your back.
Yep.
To then all your weight for me was now in shoulders and wrist.
Exactly.
And
But were you resting on the tank? Because you're not
No.
really.
no, I don't think I was.
Okay.
I was trying to sit the way I thought you should sit on that bike, but I was like, I don't think I could do this every day.
Another tip though, but for that, and that can help a lot of riders who may not know. Adjusting lever position is a massive.
Oh yeah.
True.
Can be a massive difference.
Oh yeah,
for how
I made
the
no
whole bike
adjustment.
feels.
Yeah, I
and
made
it's also you
adjustments.
can do dirt bike bars on bikes now. Like they make kits for everything. You can if you want to sit straight. Personally, I like a more upright position for riding. I'm not a big. I do like sports bikes and I do love the speed, but I'm not. It's not for me because I like to go far, but I like a nimble bike. That's why I love the SV. The SV was a great mix between the two because it was more comfortable than sitting on a ZX6 or an R6. But the bike weighed nothing, and you could toss the bike into the corner, and it was great.
I like that bike a lot.
handled it.
Now for sport bikes, where is the weight? Is that more low, mid? Where is it
I guess
usually balanced?
Depends on the displacement, but they usually keep them between like the low 4s and the mid 4s. So
Okay.
like my bike, I think like fully
410, I
without
think
the
it was
ride,
the-
yeah, without the
talking about,
riders, like 410, 415, like fully.
I think that's
full
around
forwards
what.
and
I think
stuff.
that's basically where my bike is around. It's around that
Yeah.
same weight. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you go up to like 1,000. I mean, then again, there's like thousands now that weigh nothing. I mean, there's
Yeah.
thousands that weigh the same as my bike.
It's
that
just
does.
it's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane.
By the way, I wanted to comment on because Christoph, you were saying about the comparison between carb bikes and fuel injector bikes. Well, I experienced that firsthand, like very recently. The ZZR 600 07 was carbed, 600 horsepower. 600 horsepower. I wish.
Can you calculate? Let's just take a minute to think about that. If you had a 600 horsepower
Oh
bike,
my
if you
God.
do the power to weight
Light
ratio, you're
speed.
talking like a fucking
There's people who can't handle a
like
600
an
horsepower
8,000
car.
horsepower.
Per ton.
Jesus Christ!
So no, that only had about I
Already
think
insane.
at the wheel probably like the mid to low 90s. And the ZX6R, that one that I have now, it only has like 5 or 6 horsepower more. It's like a 101,
Right.
103 at the wheels. Not a big difference, but it's fuel injected. Let me tell you, the difference is astounding.
tell
Yeah.
Astounding. Like I could romp when I had the ZZR. I could romp on the throttle. The front would get light a little bit. You'd feel it get light, but nothing crazy. The first time I opened the throttle on the ZX6R, the 08, holy shit. Was not expecting, because, speed wobble, first of all. Not violent, but just to people that don't know what speed wobble is, well, first of all, YouTube it. It's fucking terrifying. And two,
Yeah.
Don't do it.
The bars start shaking
Yeah, it
because
gets
the
bad.
bike tries to correct itself. It starts to feel an upset in the steering, and, gyroscopic precision wants to keep the bike going straight, blah, blah, blah. And now it's fighting itself. And there are, there's mild speed wobble, and then there's violent, which is
Severe,
called
yeah.
tank slap, and that is lock to lock.
Yeah.
And I've
That's
never
bad.
experienced that. I don't wish it on anybody. I hope I never do. But I mean, like I said, only like 5 or 6 horsepower more, same displacement of an engine, but that fuel delivery system changed the whole way of
Yeah.
riding. It's like it's a whole other bike. You know, I have the front starting to come up. It's getting light. It's getting violent.
Now,
you know?
is
Just
there
a
is there a
little- hold on,
benefit?
I want to just
Okay.
throw something in there before.
Yeah.
If people do experience speed wobble on a bike,
yeah,
a lot of people don't know what the right thing to do is.
clench your
true.
ass cheeks.
Clench, yeah.
Tuck
Pray
your
to-
head between your legs.
and pray to God. No, but what
Kiss
you
your
should
ass
do
goodbye.
is what you should do is you're supposed to grip the tank with your legs so you can stabilize the center of the bike.
But what if you ain't got
And
no
don't-
legs, Lieutenant Dan?
Lieutenant Dan.
What do you do, Dan?
Get some ice cream.
Hey, Lieutenant Dan.
You ain't got no legs, Lieutenant Dan.
I love you, Jenny. So anyway, before
That bitch
these-
was a whore, by the way. But
she
go ahead.
was a slutzenfoppen.
That's Irish for slut.
Correct.
But go ahead. You were saying.
Drunk
yeah. So
Irish.
what you would do is, and it's important because this is,
Yeah.
you know, and like what Mike was saying, tank slab, you can fucking go down, and if you go down, it's gonna be
No,
nasty.
you go up first, then you come down.
Yeah, so okay,
Because it-
Yeah.
there's a few things, and I want to get into it before we'll save some time because there's a couple things in like I guess terminology that Mike and I would like to go over so that people who don't know can know the difference in these terms mean for bikes and the dangers of riding bikes and how to avoid them. So grip the tank with your legs and don't just jump off throttle. You want to ease down on throttle very slowly and always here the key with a bike is to be very controlled and be very fluid. It's all about motion and how smooth you are on throttle, on brake, on how you shift your weight on the bike leaning into the corner. You don't want any aggressive and what's the word on the
Jerky.
Yeah.
jerky
Yeah.
movement.
Yeah.
You want to be nice
Severe,
and smooth,
yeah.
calculated, and just and easy. You want to feel it out, and then you'll be fine.
Because your body's
So
an extension
roll-
of the steering.
Ex-
of the bike. It's an
Exactly.
extension of,
you know, you make the very slightest move to just lean weight on one side of your arm.
Well, your room for error is so much smaller. Like a car, you
die.
You have
You die.
you have a steering rack. You have an entire rack dedicated to steering.
Yeah, and
So-
you have loss and all that in
Right.
the fucking connection.
So
You
your
have the
your
loss.
driver input is much smaller compared to a bike.
Yeah.
You have literally
physical push-pull.
it's just
Theoretically, you don't need a driver to drive a car if you get the automated ones. But like with the
Right.
bike, the ballast, well, the person's weight plays a big
Yep.
part in steering. Like you cannot have a bike by itself.
I wanted to bring
you
that
know?
up later
Yeah.
of the
Well,
actual.
actually,
yeah.
no,
Yeah.
I
you
mean,
can. They do make gyroscopic bikes now. That is a
Oh,
thing.
God. Well,
None of us in this room
listen.
can afford to have one. Let's just put it that way.
If
probably.
I sell you, I can get one.
listen, we're not.
sell me,
Yeah, your body.
I'm not. Well,
Whoa.
nobody wants to buy that, and I've been married for almost 10
mean,
years.
I know. So, but yeah, grip the tank, ease off the throttle. You don't want to hit brake. You don't want to do any of that. Just nice and easy, and get it back into line. That's it. You don't want to force it where it's got to go. You just got to like feed it so it'll come back into where you want it to be.
The pain will go away eventually. It will
Yes,
straighten
you're
itself
fucking.
out
And if you
eventually.
are a male rider, your balls will hurt.
Oh yeah.
It
If you
is-
have them,
If you have them.
At the end of this.
But for getting up to the speed where you would get speed wobble, unless you know your wheels aren't balanced or whatever, you have
Yeah.
some other major catastrophic issue.
if you're even on two wheels at
Yeah.
that point.
Well, some people that practice wheelies, for example, perfect. You know, you're supposed to come down as straight as you can with the wheel,
Right.
with the front wheel, right?
Right.
I love wheelies.
Oh man, people do like they'll do like even like a
Oh, yeah, it gets
40, 50
sketchy.
mile an hour
It gets
wheelie.
sketchy.
The front wheels come down even a little bit off center, and it's like boom,
Yep.
boom, 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 and then that's
Yeah,
it.
and
They're
it's
down.
nasty.
Or rather, they get
But that's
chucked.
the difference too. Like if you're doing wheelies, like for instance, if you clutch up and do a wheelie, you don't want to just drop the bike. When you get scared, yeah, you'll tap the rear brake and then you'll bring the bike down. But you want to always come down on a wheelie gradually with the throttle,
Yeah.
because that way you're not slamming down and blowing fork seals. You're nice and easy. Set the bike down and it's smooth. Then you get back on throttle and just ride out.
Well, you know,
You're good.
this does translate in the cars too, because same thing. For example, rear-wheel drive.
Clutch kick.
I know you know this.
Clutch
no,
kick.
not even that. Let's just talk snow conditions.
Fair enough.
You start losing control. You start understeering in a rear-wheel drive car.
You hit the brakes and you're fucked.
You're done. Exactly.
Fucked.
You want to slowly bring it back. And actually, when I owned my '68 Beetle, rear-wheel drive, rear engine, manual transmission. You know that before I started driving,
Air-cooled.
air-cooled, 1600cc dual port.
That's what happened to that.
It was a great. I traded it for an '89 Jetta Coupe. Yeah, it was a great car. I love that car.
I
would have one again in a heartbeat.
One of the best
Sad.
cars we've had in 8 years.
Period. But I was before I really started driving that in the wintertime, I read into it that
You don't drive a Beetle in the wintertime.
well, well,
Am I right?
I'm sorry, Chris.
only for the reason that you're not going to have heat. That car was actually really good in the winter. I love that car. The only reason why I ended up getting a truck after that was because I had no heat in the wintertime. The heater channels had rusted through and whatnot. But whatever, back to on topic here, I read that if you're going to lose control, it was my first rear-wheel drive vehicle I'd owned at that point, other than a truck I had. But yeah, same thing. Any severe motion, slamming on the brakes, you're done. You're not going to have control anymore. So, but it's the same thing apparently for bikes as well too. And actually the margin of error is even smaller for bikes because you are now the you are now the steering rack. You're a mechanical part as a person
You
of the
do
bike.
have a great
The
rack.
Beetle did the Beetle have power
You
steering?
do have a great rack.
A rack?
Yeah.
I know. So yeah, you're no longer a driver. You're an extension of the bike.
And
To
that
put it,
and it is
and that's
so-
anything. That's not just
Yeah, like
sport
look at
bike. That's
what
anything.
we were talking about last week.
where you
Target
wanna go.
fixation. Look where
Yep.
you want to go, and then your instinct and your body will naturally carry you through the corner or
Target fixation.
the
Yep.
friggin' what was that coffee place we were talking about before?
Tim Hortons.
The Tim Hortons drive-through. Target fixation. I see my coffee. I want my coffee.
I see that speaker.
I get my coffee.
I remember. Going back to a weight, I quickly looked up to the 03 Sportster. This is the
I'm
12.
curious.
The 1200 is
What is the way wet?
490. Oh, that's dry weight is 491.
The dry weight
Dry weight
of the
Wow.
1200.
The
of the
FZ
1200. That's the
FZ.
bigger of the two.
The
So that's
FZ
going to be
is
about 530 probably wet, something like that.
It's 491 for dry weight.
Oh, dry weight. What's wet weight though?
It doesn't say.
Because wet weight is with fluids, and what would
Wet weight is what we care about.
Is that with optimal no rinse?
We don't care what the dry weight is.
Or is that like tap
bikes?
We care what it is when it's stimulated and wet.
Dry weight.
You gotta keep it carbureted.
Well, it says here it says fuel capacity. It doesn't say. It doesn't say wet weight.
So
Well,
they have curb weight. Do they have driveway weight?
no, they have.
Well, fuck it. So for comparative purposes,
Anyway.
just look
Yeah.
at the dry weight of our bikes.
tax on like 20.
Okay,
So
So
type in
what bike?
2008 Yamaha.
How do you spell Yamaha?
Really? Yeah,
It's like yum yum.
You ever watch that video of the guy?
R6,
R6 Raven.
R6.
I don't know if, actually, I
The
don't think there's-
Raven does not make a difference.
I was going to say, there's no weight reduction on the Raven.
No,
so just
it's
R6.
just-
that's
it's
fine.
just-
If anything,
It
you
was a
have a
black
weight
R6.
addition.
I have 6 horsepower.
You have
You have
no, you
two
have
cans
extra
of
sickles.
Dry weight is 366.
There's your difference. 130 pounds.
Wow. 130 pounds.
130 pounds of
Dry.
difference.
366. Holy.
But my
shit.
question was,
So I'm
weight was
probably
coming-
I'm probably below 400 wet then. I must
or
be.
maybe right about. I mean, plus rider weight. Yeah, but of course, yeah.
Well, no, rider weight is
know.
subjective. Rider weight is subjective. I'm just saying.
And just
Did you assume his weight?
at's a little heavy.
Jenny
I'm
Craig.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Uh,
let me acknowledge my privilege.
But
Privilege.
Privilege.
Oh wait, you know the wet weight of your bike, don't you?
Yeah, it's like 415 or something.
So
like
let's see
that.
what the dry weight of his bike is, so we can tax on an average.
what? Go ahead. What is it?
2008 ZX6R.
6.
Oh, 600, right?
600.
600.
Not the 636.
Put the
That's
cash
Fugazi.
in the bag.
Dry weight 377.
Haha, you were heavier.
So 35.
Listen,
say
yeah.
35 pounds in
I mean,
fluid.
To be fair,
Puts me right at
Kawasaki,
400.
Yamaha kind of led the
I'll
pack.
give you 30
For a
pounds of
while,
fluid.
they've been
They did.
leading the race with technology and stuff like that, but that's besides the point. Weight-wise and electronics and stuff, I mean,
we racing?
Cowie kind of fell behind the pack, but I mean,
But going back to the
Yeah.
weight thing, the reason why I brought that up
Yeah.
was where it sits.
in terms-
Mid, as far as balance, like
Yeah.
weight distribution, is
Wow,
it
we did
in
get
the
on top.
middle or is it low? Because one thing about Harley is that it's pretty mid to low. It's
Yeah.
not very low weight,
I would say it's kind of mid to high.
mid to high for a sport
Because
bike.
yeah, the ground. I mean, definitely. I think if you held, if you put up a Sportster or something of like similar, a Harley, like a common Harley to a common sport bike, the ground clearances in a Harley and a sport bike. People scrape peg on Harleys. When it
Oh,
goes
easily.
through,
Easily.
If you're scraping peg on a sport bike, holy
You're
shit,
horizontal,
I mean,
fam.
you might as well be dragging like helmet.
You're
know? It's
inverted.
like, yeah, you're inverted. I was inverted.
inverted.
So it's like, yeah, but I think they're mid to high because, sport bikes have to have a fast turn-in rate.
Right.
Typically, because the
The
sport
tip-in speed is
yeah, the tip-in speed, yeah. So like the thing that I don't think a lot of people realize is that sport bikes, they're like with cars, a lot of stuff gets taken from the motorsport, like Formula One, MotoGP, AMA Superbike. They take that stuff and they put it to the consumer.
Yeah.
So like
it's
when-
adjustable coilover shock in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Smaller air
Yeah.
shock.
Oh,
in the
really?
back with an adjustable spring. Yeah.
Oh,
You
wow.
can adjust height. You can tension the springs. You can set the suspension on.
I
the
wish I
bike
would have
up
had
to-
that on for my fat
to
ass. On
rider.
my
Which,
Harley.
Yeah, I
Which is
actually
very
think
important.
Which quick question? Did the prior owner or the prior owners weigh more than I did on that R6? I was gonna say,
no. The original owner, I think, would have been maybe a little bit heavier than
did
you,
Mark
since you're
adjust
like a
it at
fucking
all?
Twig. No,
Did
Mark
Mark
No,
adjust it at
definitely
all?
not.
Because I was
I
gonna
don't
say,
even-
I feel like I get a lot of bounce on bumps on that
well,
bike.
R6 is very stiff.
It is very
my
stiff.
buddy, yeah,
It's a stiff fucking bike.
I don't know.
man.
You might have met him, but he had the gold. He had the
You lost that virginity or?
07, 08 Triumph Daytona.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
But so he used to have an R6 was like one of his bikes he had, and he said like he's a light guy. He's very, he's about my height, but he's very, very light. And that R6 suspension he told me was
He was probably flying off of
way too stiff. Because the R6 is one of the most track-oriented 600s out there.
Yeah.
Like that comes out of the box. Boom. You really don't have to do anything to it.
And they are
very stiff. Like,
on the
and
track.
even like with my bike now compared to the ZCR that you had, the suspensions. I mean, it's night and day. The ZCR, I
Yeah.
could take like now I'm like riding on the same roads I rode before, and I'm like, why is it more bumpy?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
is there more potholes? No, just the suspension is like
asshole
stupid
hurts.
stiff.
Which
you
we
know?
talked about that in the modification episode, adjusting rear suspension.
Yeah.
Things to do. That's like one of the first things you do on a bike is if you know the person before you was
Absolutely.
lighter than you, you're going to need to make an adjustment or heavier than you and whatnot. So I kind of want to bring this instead of just a let's just talk about what we've had thing. Let's kind of tie it. I want to kind of tie this together here for something. So have you guys as sport bike riders? I know the answer for you.
I think I know the question, but go ahead.
Have you ever? What has your experience been for something like a Harley or Yamaha?
Let me kick this one off because
cruiser,
you guys
Cruiser, yeah.
I'm tired of listening to you fucking. So kicking back into that,
Yes.
even and anybody that's listened to the episodes before knows that I am very, very open to trying new things, whether it's
We're just open in general, sweetheart.
Join us after the recording for
Wait till we do Gear Shaft late night.
Gear Shaft.
Gear Shaft.
So, automotive talk.
Yes.
Anytime we've mentioned different cars, I'm willing to try different vehicles, different
Yes.
brands, different continents. I don't give a shit. If I like something, I will go for it. I'm that kind of person.
Right.
Which is why why Volvo?
Dudes.
I am me.
Dudes.
No. But so
Not today.
same thing with bikes. And Danny and Mike and actually all three of you can attest to this. I've contemplated getting something old school before, something that was completely unsports bike related, and getting like a
Cafe.
cafe project or
Yeah.
even like a bobber or something
Yeah.
like that. But for me, it's like I feel like I can try anything. And my Harley experience, the only Harley that I've ever ridden is my roommate's 883 Sportster. I believe it's a 91. Was it 91 or 92?
I can't answer
Regardless,
that because
it's
the
an
frame
early
and the
90
motor, it's a motor
Boom.
swap.
So it
I
is a
don't know
motor
what-
swap.
what it
Yeah.
is,
So it's an early 90s 883 Sportster that's been swapped with a 1200 motor. So I've ridden that, and
it's a common swap. It is.
yeah, and it's his bike is very nice.
It's clean,
Like Paul's bike
yeah.
is very clean. It has a rebuilt motor, completely rebuilt. It's got like 400 miles on it. Very well done.
It needs to be cleaner.
It does need to be
detailer.
cleaner. But the thing is, riding that bike, I really honestly thought that I was going to be more comfortable on a cruiser. And I feel like because I had 4 sports bikes prior to riding that bike, I got into the habit of a certain seating position.
Right.
And after I got on that Harley, I felt less comfortable than I did on the sports bike, which is very odd.
Well, it's not what you're used to.
It's not what I'm used to. Now, I will go ahead and put a disclaimer out there.
Totally different
I'm
feel.
6'5". There's almost 6'5". There's no fucking bike on the planet that's going to be comfortable for me.
Right.
There's no way in hell. Now, mind you,
your R6, you fuck.
Unless it's something custom, which
yeah, exactly.
you know,
Which I'm not going to spend the
No.
money on. I don't care.
Just buy Shaq's old bike.
Boom. So yeah, and that's the thing. It's like I do appreciate for what it is.
Right.
And I loved riding it. It has a cool noise, and I do feel pretty boss on a Harley. But at the same time, I do like the idea that if I want to just change direction really quickly and confidently.
You got to plan it 4 hours in advance.
Exactly, and that's the thing that I love about. Well,
no,
I wouldn't say-
it's not.
It's
It's not
excessive.
that
It's excessive.
bad.
No,
you can't. You can't tip into the corner and be like.
That's what I mean. What I realized really quickly was that I could not ride the Harley like I would ride a sports bike. Is what I realized very
Right.
quickly.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
still-
absolutely.
Brakes
yeah.
are softer. The brakes aren't going to
Everything is-
stop as
yeah.
much.
It feels a little more
going to give.
Yeah, it feels a little more lethargic, but
Stock for stock.
stock for stock.
Stock for
Now,
yeah,
mind you,
yeah.
I'm not trying to put a negative connotation on any kind of sportster because I really do love them for what they are. They're
depends
really
on
They're the
what you
muscle
want.
car of bikes.
Exactly,
They're the
and that's
classic
what it
muscle
is.
car
Yeah.
of bikes. And that's how it is. The translation you have in car groups and in tuners versus Euros versus this, they're going to have the same exact thing with bikes. Now, the thing is, and I don't want to say that you can't turn a corner with a Harley.
You absolutely
because
can.
if you
Oh,
if
there
you
are
were the-
videos that prove
Yeah,
otherwise.
no. If
Exactly.
you're, let me tell you something.
Exactly.
I've seen
Yeah.
guys on Gold Wings pass dudes
Yeah.
in 600s.
Yeah.
On a road because the
wouldn't.
guy in a 600 don't know how to ride, but the guy in a Gold Wing sitting there listening to 101.1 CBS FM, he's sitting there to Broadway Billy, and then coming through the corner and just be like, hey fucko,
Yeah.
and just cruising. And it's funny because my father actually had a Gold Wing like same as yours, which
Yeah.
is kind of funny. We need to get our dads out drinking one night. That fucking
real.
make them pay for it.
Yeah.
but
You're
Yeah.
adulting, you pay.
it does come down to comfort because I know the first time I had ever rode a sport bike was yours, and I'm so used to the seating position, like we had said, I can stretch out. The power is mostly low end. It's all low end. Instantaneous torque, just good to go. As
Well, you need more torque to get that fat ass moving.
well, yeah. I'm not going to deny that. So
You have a
I'm,
great
I'm,
booty.
I'm big boned. I'm not fat.
You a
So,
thick bitch.
but it's instantaneous torque. Your power band is right there. It's all low.
That's a V-twin thing.
Yeah. Whereas it's similar to like European versus Japanese for cars. You
Yeah.
know, European cars are known for their lower end torque, and so same as muscle cars. And Japanese cars are known for their
String
higher
out.
end. Exactly. For I don't know, me personally, from what I've been accustomed to, I would probably pick a Harley or anything equivalent. Like I know Honda has touring bikes that are similar.
BMW.
BMW does.
Yeah,
Triumph.
BMWs are great bikes as well. They are temperamental. You do need to keep up with maintenance. However,
BMW is good across the board for everything they have. I mean,
well,
for
his
bikes.
father
for
had
bikes.
what is it, a GS 1100,
1200.
1200, and it's been a
1200.
nightmare since he got it.
Really?
It was bought used though.
Yeah.
Do you think he got a fluke, or is it just that model?
That model, well, that engine in particular, I guess, because like BMW loves their fucking
Boxer. It's the
two-cylinder
Boxer
flat
style,
plane
yeah.
boxer. You know,
Really?
Boxer. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
horizontally opposed
Oh, wow.
two-cylinder.
Massive.
They love those things.
Like,
it's
BMW
it's
loves
the
them.
Subaru of bikes.
Yeah,
Pretty
you
much.
get valve cover because it is the valve cover. Yeah, you get the
What?
valve cover guards because when you lean the bike too far, you can't actually like start shaving the fins of the valve cover. On
Yeah,
top.
yeah.
Wow.
It's unreal.
Yeah, but they
They
put those motors in like their like
boulders.
adventure bikes, you know, which are like
Right.
the cruisers. You know, you don't really need them that far,
Yeah,
and
you're
they're
not.
high bikes. I mean, in terms of like
Can
seating
do-
position and stuff.
Can do
ground
street
clearance.
and a bit of dirt.
Yeah, yeah.
More geared for street, but
Like-
can do dirt.
long way around with
Yeah, great movie.
That
Ewan
guy from
McGregor.
Star Wars.
Ewan McGregor and his friend
with Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Ewan McGregor,
and Charlie. I forget his name.
Charlie Chaplin.
Charlie Chaplin.
Charlie Sheen.
No, so Ewan McGregor
One of
had a
those
friend.
Charlie
If
and Chocolate
anybody's into
Factory.
anybody's into bikes, highly recommend this movie. It's called A Long Way Round. They also did the one called The Long Way Down, where they did and across the world travel on a bike.
sounds
They
like a
rode
porno.
BMW GSs, but they were testing out KTM's, adventure bikes, and they ran the whole Europe,
Yeah.
all of Europe, and came around Europe,
Yeah.
and then flew to Alaska, or no, sorry, flew to California, and then drove
Yeah.
across the entire America.
That's
Yeah.
fucking awesome.
It was
Charlie
sick.
Borman.
Yes, Charlie
yeah.
Borman. That's
Long
it.
way round. Not
Yep.
even around, just round.
Round,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Just round.
It's a cool documentary.
series follows actors Ewan McGregor and Charlie Borman on a
So-
motorcycle trip around the world.
Not that it's a surprise,
Brought
but
to you by
BMW
Q-Shift.
motorcycles, like their four-wheel counterparts, have maintenance or maintenance issues
Do you have to tap them up when you do that?
very frequently. Yes, you
Guarantee
do.
it was like a valve adjustment every hour.
Oh God! So my father bought I think it's a 09 GS
nice
1200,
bike.
right? It's a great bike. You know, it's very it's everything's there. The problem is, they're expensive at the box. They're like $25,000.
And that goes with the car too.
Yeah.
You know, yeah.
So he paid like I think around 10 grand for it, and it had 20,000 miles on it, or just thereabouts.
It's
yeah,
the ultimate
yeah,
drive.
That's
yeah.
a lot of
Listen,
fucking
wow.
miles
Listen,
for that price.
I mean, like I said, that
Dude,
bike.
10K for a bike?
No, no, no,
Well, and that's something we need to
No.
point out.
That's that BMW shit. That's what
Well,
it
yeah,
is.
no, we're
That's the
gonna
thing.
do a whole thing at the end. I feel. We
Well,
should
I
do
think
like a whole.
that's something that
breakdown
should
of
be
bike buying.
pointed out for people who are car
Of
people
course.
that have never even tapped their toe into water before
Yeah.
for motorcycles. Mileage is not the same.
No, very, very
absolutely
different.
not.
Very,
No.
very
You know, a
different.
10,000-mile car, that's brand new.
spanking new.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Some cars don't even change. Like Volkswagen now, it's every 10,000 is your oil change.
Yeah.
But 10,000 on a bike, that's been around the block.
Oh yeah.
No, no, no,
Well,
no, no, no,
sort
no,
of.
no,
Well,
no,
it
no, no, no.
depends, I guess.
I think the perfect way to convert it would be that 10,000 miles would equal.
50,000 miles.
No, I would say a little bit higher. I would say maybe if you're buying new, like 75, 80,000 mile mark on a car.
75,000
Well, you got to look, the
It
average
still
person,
has plenty of life.
the average car,
10,000 is not a bad number.
the
at
average
all.
car driver does 12 to 15,000 miles a year on
Yes.
their car. So, but that's
that would
all
equate
year
to
round.
that would equate to about 2,000 miles per season on a bike, which is
3,000.
not
a
bad.
quarter,
No.
a quarter of the
Yeah.
average in a car.
Right.
Yeah.
Although when I was home, when I came home on leave from Afghanistan, I drove my bike. This was a 2-week period. I did 2,000 miles in 2 weeks.
Wow, that's amazing.
I was home
Yeah.
from
That's
war.
awesome.
I'm like, I want to ride this thing.
I'll
as
get
much
on
as-
my fucking Harley.
Yeah, I did.
So the mileage with bikes, right? Like we were
Yes.
saying. So like 10,000 is probably like around 75,000, but like 20,000, now you're looking at like it's like 100,000 plus for like a car,
Right.
like equivalent wise. I mean,
Expect some maintenance that's been
right.
overdue.
yeah.
Yeah.
But in my father's case, like his bike, the 09 GS 1200, he bought it, like I said, for about 10 grand. Good thing he got the warranty on it, because let me tell you, 3 months after he got it, it had like 20,000 miles thereabouts, it spun a rod bearing.
Ooh.
It spun a
Wow.
rod bearing. Yeah, like one day, just he started it started making, clunk, 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 and then he couldn't start it again. And the good thing, he called up the dealership.
7
Jersey.
callers ahead of us, Jimmy.
He called up the BMW dealership, and they're like, "Well, you got the warranty, so you're good." And they came with a van or something. I wasn't
Yeah.
home at the time. They picked up the bike.
Yep.
But it was a third-party warranty, but it worked. It was fine. So they took care of it. It took like a little while. Obviously because they got to take it apart. They got to show
Yeah.
pictures to the warranty company.
Yep.
It's not BMW doing the warranty. It's
Yeah.
way out of warranty.
I will say, anyone who's ever
factory-wise.
done any sort of service riding before,
Yeah.
so dealing with aftermarket warranties, is,
yeah.
if it's a good warranty company, it's not that bad, but it is still a pain in the ass for someone who's been. I've been a service rider that deals
Yeah.
with aftermarket warranty. It sucks because VW warranty, it's black and white.
Yeah.
This is covered. This is not covered. Worst case, you have to call your rep to go, this is an unusual circumstance.
Yeah.
Great customer with service history. Okay. They'll approve it. Here's an authorization code. Make sure that's in your notes.
Yeah.
Okay. But aftermarket warranty, everything has to be documented.
Yeah.
For example, let's say, all goes back to cars.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say it's something that's just behind the bumper to replace. Let's just say radiator replacement.
Yeah.
Well, if you look it up to get the code for radiator replacement, it's okay. Let's say it's a half hour for radiator replacement. Well, what you're not taking into consideration is you have to remove the bumper to get to the radiator. You have to remove the rad support to get to the radiator.
Yep.
So you then have 3 operation codes that you have to then
What car do you need to remove all this shit to get to the fucking radiator?
pretty much. I'm general terms. But
Struggle bus.
But what I'm
Not
saying
really.
is, so you have to then include, now for one thing, you have to include 3 operations and add that up. So now you're up to an hour and a half instead of just that half hour.
Oh, yeah.
So that's huge in aftermarket warranty companies, is that's what they look for. And then you call the rep and they'll go, all right, what's your labor rate? 100 an hour? Okay, we only pay 50 an hour. So extended warranty companies will only pay. So
X
then,
amount.
so then the dealership or whoever's doing the work has to then adjust the labor rate
Yeah.
on their end to accept the money. Otherwise, it's going to come out of your pocket.
Yeah.
Which then, as a customer, you'll go, well, I'm not paying that. I have an extended warranty.
Yeah,
That's why I
right.
bought it.
Yeah.
So that's why then the dealership will have to adjust your. It's a mess when you're dealing with aftermarket warranties. For the most part,
Yeah.
it is a huge pain. There's so much that has to be documented.
Yeah.
So
So I think my father, I think he lucked out though, because he bought it from a BMW dealership, but it was a used BMW. So he had a third-party warranty that BMW has dealt with before, And so they didn't replace the engine. They just took it apart, and I think they replaced the bearings, and if they checked the the drive shaft stuff was in
Right.
spec, whatever. I'm not familiar with the terms. I don't remember. And it was good. They replaced it. He got it back a month and change later. And now more recently, unfortunately, which is not covered under warranty, once again, BMW, fancy stuff. They have an electronically adjustable suspension. For like dampening and stuff.
Right.
Because it's an adventure bike, so they have like
What year is this again?
it's an '09.
Okay.
It's an '09. So
I know a lot of newer sports cars have technology like this now.
Yeah. Well, like sport. Wait, you said sport bikes or
Cars.
sport? Well, yeah.
Cars now have, like Volkswagen, they have the electronic dampening for the
Yes.
GTI and Golf
Yes.
R. So
But the reasoning behind the GS 1200 having it is because it's as an adventure bike, where you could take it off road and on road,
right.
long distance.
I'll take you on road and off road.
Hey,
Bitch.
One thing with maintenance costs though, and
Yeah.
It is less than a bike.
see now I was very fortunate with my bike. I only had to do oil changes
Yeah.
and I replaced the tires on it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
what do tires cost you? Not that bad.
200, 300.
That's it. Boom.
They're Harley. The thing is with Harley is you have to buy Harley tires.
Do
You
you?
don't have
They're special
to.
sizes.
Well, no, but if you go to a dealership,
That's just what they tell the Harley plebs.
well, the problem was
Your problem is you went to the dealer.
Well, no. Here's so my problem owning a bike back then.
Revzilla.com for all you normal people.
For me, hi.
Hi, I'm Matt from Revzilla.com, and this is your. If you ever look up a Revzilla review video for anything, Matt from Revzilla.com is
Top
every fucking time, bro.
But like for me now with cars, I buy tires, Discount Tire Direct. That's where I buy my tires. They ship right to the house. Boom.
Yeah.
No problems.
We love you, Matt.
Back then, owning a bike, the only thing I knew, especially where I grew up in an area where
It was more
there was
convenient than go to the
nothing.
dealer.
Going to the dealership was a half-hour drive.
Wow.
Just go out there and get from the dealership.
Yeah, because then you'd have to find a shop, and then you have to get a shop.
and
stuff
not
and machine
everywhere
to it. You
is a
don't do it
motorcycle
yourself.
shop.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's mostly a mom and pop car truck, mostly truck shop up by where I grew up. So for me, it was just go to the dealership, and you go to the dealership, you have to buy
One-stop
Harley
shop,
tires.
yeah, of course.
Which for the most part, I think Harley is just rebranded Dunlop. I
Nankangs.
think. No, I think they're Dunlop.
Nankings.
Do they make bike tires?
I don't fucking know.
I don't care.
Probably.
You shouldn't buy them.
Definitely buy them. They make great smoke.
They stretch.
They smoke really well. Clutch kick, make smoke, call it a day.
But I think Harley is just rebranded Dunlop. I think.
Probably.
But yeah, I think it was like $200 or $300 bucks.
7%
Yeah.
markup.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
It's $200 or $300, but
It's not cheap.
but for maintenance costs on a bike, you guys have owned bikes longer, longer period than I have.
Not bad. You can get away with a lot.
I guess,
I
but I mean,
think.
it's like, for example, like since we're on the subject of tires, but how much does it usually cost to get, besides the cost, taking out the cost of the tires entirely, how much does it cost to get your tires mounted and balanced?
More-
In
A
a
lot,
shop?
no.
60 per wheel.
No.
yeah,
But
it's
I mean,
expensive. It's
it's
expensive.
expensive.
More
Bike?
expensive than a car.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because a car is like 15.
15 per
I
tire.
got, I
know,
got
you gotta
quoted
remove-
60,
whatever.
60 per wheel. I got
Per wheel,
quoted.
per
That's
wheel,
bringing
yeah.
the bike in though. That's not removing it
yeah,
yourself.
yeah.
Because you gotta take the adjuster out for the swing arm. You push the wheel forward on the
Yep.
slide. You pull the chain
Yeah.
off. Unhook the pin for the axle pin. I guess you would call
It's
it an axle pin,
intensive.
right?
Yeah.
And then you pull the wheels off. And then you pull the front wheel. I mean, the front wheel comes off 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
The rear
It's
wheel's a bit of a
intensive.
headache.
So
Messed
bikes are as far as maintenance goes. Well, it sounds like tires is really the
Just
the,
that's
the
really
bulk
the
of
only
it.
thing.
I'm a BMW guy, and I had my M20 for so long. And M20s, for out of car speaking, M20s, you had to do a valve adjustment was crucial to do valve adjustments. So I now have a mindset of, well, I want to adjust my valves. Some people don't even ever adjust valves or lash on their cars, and
Yeah.
I try and keep up with all of my cars.
How much does the average bike motor cost?
Bike motor?
Yeah, if you have to
It
replace a
depends.
whole motor.
Like my
Brand
dirt
new?
bike motor is like
You new, used, doesn't matter.
$700 for like my dirt bike is like $700.
So I think Paul paid, if I'm not mistaken, north over 2K to have his entire motor.
But that was also
rebuilt.
a swap,
That was a
too.
rebuild.
What bike?
1200 on a Harley. No, he didn't have it
Wow.
swap.
Oh no, it was already a swap.
It was
That's right,
already
that's
a
right.
swap.
Well,
Yeah.
let's start with this. Some Harleys brand new are like in the mid $20,000 range. So
That's the thing.
It depends.
not-
So Sportster for me,
Yeah.
I bought mine used. It was an 03. I bought it in 07
yeah,
with 5,000 miles on
Yeah.
it. I was the third owner. I think I paid 4 or 5K,
That's ballpark.
and I traded it. I ended up trading it in, Crystal's GTI and my bike for her R32. I traded the bike. I think I got trade-in value of 4K.
Not bad.
It's not resale, trade-in for 4. So I made a little bit on that bike.
That's
but,
not bad at all.
and it had almost 8,000 miles at that point. So it had more miles, but
Sure.
I
mean, but you know, like there. I mean, you got.
but look at a car motor. You blow a motor
Yeah.
on a car,
Yeah.
you're spending $1,000 to $2,000, $3,000 for a car.
mean,
It depends on the engine, really.
Yeah,
But
and if you're getting a brand new or not,
Yeah.
of course, you know. But like a bike motor, I've seen, you know, like, see, it depends on the popularity of the bike. You know, for example, like Suzuki Gixxers, right? The GSXRs, 600s. Like there are so many of those bikes. You can pick up a used one or a very, very low mileage one for like sub $500, sub $4 maybe.
really?
Yeah. Just well, I mean, the
Wait,
motor,
the bike or the motor?
the motor and transmission are kind of like one piece in a way. I mean, yeah, you can split them, but they're. I mean, they
It's
usually
one-
sell
it's
them
one
one
piece,
piece
essentially.
because you know, I mean, I'm sure you know this, but compared to cars, motorcycles do not have separate oil for the engine or separate oil for the gearbox.
It's one tank. Yes.
They share the whole system.
What's it, like 3 or 4 quart usually?
Yeah, I think my bike is like 3.8
Yeah, something like that.
liters.
Liters?
Something along those
Oil?
lines. I mean, well, yeah, you have the engine and a transmission.
It's
you
like
know,
1.1
and-
liter to a quart anyway, so a liter's just a hair more than a quart.
Yeah, it's nothing crazy, but it's like, you know, I mean, let's put it this way: my bike takes about the same amount of oil as my GTI does.
What?
Yeah,
The
That's
new one?
crazy.
yeah. Well,
Get
I mean,
the fuck out of here.
Yeah, but look, if
well,
you
4.8, what is it? 4.8 liters that go into the GTI, and
Yeah,
like 3.8 into the bike. I mean,
you can do
granted-
4.5 quart in a GTI,
Yeah,
to
okay,
2
so
liter.
one-
Shit, the
But
SB
then,
was
but
like
but look, if you
2
took the gear oil out of the
quarts, 2.5
transmission,
quarts.
oh yeah, sure.
look at the gear. If you combine the
Yeah.
gear oil and the engine oil
Yeah.
together, you'd have a lot more compared to now. The bike is sharing
Yeah.
one reservoir.
Which is also why you have to, number one, use a specific oil for the bike, and number two, change it more frequently because you're not just getting, you know, I guess engine wear particles in the bike.
You're also
oil.
in the rev. You're higher in the rev
You're
range
getting
more
clutch.
frequently.
Because the clutch, in most, unless you have a Ducati, but let's not get into that right now. You have a wet clutch, which is, you know, it's in there. The clutch, it's like a clutch pack, like you know. Yeah, steel plates, Kevlar plates, whatever, and they're, you know, you're getting the clutch particles in the oil and the gear oil and the engine oil, and it's all, you know, all that crap is mixing in there. So like, if you're not changing your oil at least, I mean, minimum once a season, then you know that bike is not gonna last you a long time.
I always did mine before
and after.
and after.
Yeah, I'm that way
winter,
too.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Just because it's sitting. I know nothing's happening over the winter time, but
Yeah.
just because it's sitting.
yeah,
But now, question about, because there are liquid cooled, a lot of liquid cooled bikes
like
out
my
there.
bike. Yeah, most modern bikes are liquid cooled.
Does that also cool the transmission?
I'm sorry.
Does that also cool the transmission, or is it only cooling the engine?
They have oil coolers.
They have
Some
the
bikes,
separate
a lot
oil
of bikes
cooler.
have oil coolers.
Okay.
Yeah. Especially
Yeah.
you'll guarantee to see oil coolers on
Air cooled bikes.
Well, I know
Air
air cooled
cooled,
definitely
yeah,
has
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yeah,
oil cooled.
they're usually right in the front of the fork, right behind the tire.
Yeah.
Right down
But
low.
the coolant passages wouldn't go into the trend. They
Okay.
wouldn't. It would just cool the motor. And remember,
Or maybe.
the sump. No, but remember the sump is still is going to be on the bottom of the engine,
Yeah.
which is going to share the fluid from
Yeah.
both. So
Oh,
the
yeah.
oil will be. It'll eventually trickle down. It's like a trickle down
Yeah.
effect. But like what I was saying before, when
Reaganomics.
what I was saying before is with the when you keep up with valve adjustments on a car, it's not as intricate with a bike if you maintain the small stuff. Like if you can keep up with doing oil changes. I'm a freak with oil changes. I do, like on my E30, I do oil changes every track day. I do one day, two
Well-
events tops, and I change oil. I'm also sitting on limiter all the time.
well, I think
But
that's
with-
more important if you're pushing your car
Yeah.
to limit all
Yeah.
the time.
But a bike,
Daily driving, you can get away with
yeah,
certain
of course,
intervals,
of course.
but absolutely.
But like 3,000, that's too much for me. Even on a normal car, I'm like a 2,000 guy.
really?
Yeah.
With synthetic?
Yeah, I don't ever play with oil.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm very regimented to keeping.
Don't buy a new car.
Very, very small. No, like my work car.
Yeah.
That shit gets like 12,000 miles.
Wow.
My van never got an oil change. I don't pay for it.
Not
I
your
don't
car, not your
fucking
problem.
care. But like the bike, I would do every.
Yeah.
When I first bought the bike, I do every. Like when if I buy something brand new, I do 1,000-mile oil change. And I clean out because I don't know what the last person did, and I
Yeah.
clean out everything that they had. I run thicker oil, I push
Yeah.
everything down, and then I set myself, and it was good because the bike, the E30, and the other car that I had at the time all took the same oil.
Which is stupid because
is
so many
great.
car manufacturers now are like, it's broken in from the factory.
That's false. That's not true.
I guess it depends.
I think to a degree it is, I think
But
their
it's how
tolerances
the
are
car
a
will
lot.
never be the car will never be
truly
broken
broken
into
in
to how you drive it.
Exactly.
But I think it depends on the type of car too, because like you take like a Camry, right? That the engines are mass produced, and you take like a hand built engine from like I don't know, like a GTR. Like
Yeah.
Nissan apparently like bench tests those engines or runs them for like an extended amount of hours
Wow.
before they put
I
them in
didn't
the
know
car. From what
That's
I've
pretty
seen.
Which is, I feel it should be, but if you're in
Yeah.
a mass production car, you don't have time for that.
No, absolutely not. You just slap
Yeah.
it, because you know the dimensions and everything.
Yeah.
It's not hand built, so it
Yeah.
is what it is. But real quick, I wanted to touch on oil changes because I am not looking forward to the oil change on my bike that I have right now, the
You have to drop all the
OAZX6R.
fairings, don't you?
No, the oil filter placement. That's what annoys me all the time. Because like the ZZR had it was like above the headers, so the oil leaked onto the headers. Okay,
Oh,
number one.
yeah.
But it was okay. But you could still get to.
an SV.
Yeah, well, you could still get to the filter, but the ZX6R to 08, okay, the front sprocket, it's above the front sprocket on the bike,
Yeah.
and it's recessed in. So you literally have to have a ratchet with the those oil filter sockets with like a 6-inch extension to get that off. So it's gonna be a pain in the ass. I already know because I'm looking at it. I'm like that. There's no. Please tell me that's not the oil filter. I look it up and it's the oil filter. I'm like, it's just there's some places where I wish it did not put oil filters, and in that particular case, because it's gonna leak it's gonna leak all over the block,
Yeah.
the sprocket,
Yeah.
and then
That's what I loved
know.
about the Harley. You could literally just go, I can touch the drain plug, I can touch the filter.
Yeah.
It's all exposed.
Yeah.
And I loved that. It was so much
Mhm.
easier to take care of.
some bikes don't have oil filters. Like real quick,
So it's a sump. It's not.
it's a screen.
There's a screen in
yeah,
the sump. Yeah.
yeah. Like my '94 XR. there
Old
was no-
Beetles were like that.
Yeah,
They didn't have filters.
yeah.
Crazy.
You gotta take off I think it was the Honda Groms nowadays. That's a very hyped up little bike because it's like a mini bike.
I wouldn't mind having
125. I mean, I rode one. They're fun. You could top them out, but
Same, I rode
on
it
like
too,
a
but
regular
it's-
street,
Yeah.
like
It's whatever. I
50,
wouldn't-
55, 60 on a downhill.
Around here, I would love it because for me running errands, if I need to go to anything around here, the speed limit's only 40.
Yeah,
So I would love that.
but you'll be pinned.
That's fine. I'm also not going far
Right.
around here,
I
but
guess.
if like in a city driving, I would love that.
Yeah,
But yeah,
but they're small bikes because you sit really low.
Kevin
and,
had a ruckus, by the way. I don't know if you knew that.
I am not going to comment on a ruckus. I will.
He had a bone
hold my
stock
peace here.
ruckus. He refused to do
God.
anything to it.
Oh god.
Kevin, he had the beautiful. He was good on a ruckus.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's we're gonna start wrapping this up here.
Oh, that smells.
What it comes down to is bikes are cool.
Are we doing?
We're gonna do what did you do. So I gotta turn on live stream, but we're just gonna kind of wrap this up here. So
For those who are not with us, I found it.
fatted. All right. We have the Bearded Detailer joining us.
Oh,
we
who
have
gives a
MPVR6, who does not own a VR6.
Who's that faggot?
We have Eros
Who dat
914. We have Dom P90. The
Dom
P90.
P90.
He's on the way. He's on his way to be fucking someone's bitch. He's got to be. Or he's working.
We have Zachary Lynn also joined. He's from the Lehigh Valley area.
Zachary?
It says Zachary.
Zachariah.
There's two Y's. So Zachary. See?
Zachary.
Zachary. Lynn with two N's. Zachary Lynn.
All right, we focus on
you
this
remember?
guy's name for too long.
Actually, 3 ends.
Tammy Salami STI joined.
Oh,
He-
Tommy!
Like once again,
You're a
he's,
great guy.
he has symmetrically joined us.
He's the local 3 electrician for all them single ladies out there. He's doing pretty
Pew, 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 pew. So okay, we're gonna do what did you do this week? All right, so we'll start with Mike. What did you do
Ooh.
this week?
Well,
Masturbated
with-
violently.
I guess this is the
Car
bike.
wise.
Are we talking about cars or bikes? I mean,
Automotive.
Or dicks.
Automotive.
Either.
Well, okay.
Auto.
For my Mark 6, I put gas in it, and for my 2008 Kawasaki ZX6R, arigato. And I did a lot of things actually to this bike this week. I put on a slip-on exhaust. It's like
did?
a cat. I did.
Oh, swag.
Oh yeah, I put a Two Brothers. I bought it used, but here's the catch: I bought a full exhaust. I got the full exhaust for the bike used for like I think it was like a little
Full
like
exhaust contains headers, mid pipe,
Yes.
and tail.
titanium. By the way, And slapped on the slip-on. Didn't do the headers yet because unfortunately when you buy used, you kind of get a, toss out of dice kind of thing. The header was cracked.
Oh.
Like, not even a little cracked.
Yeah, it's like
Very, very
180
very
degrees around the pipe, like pretty much. Yeah, I mean,
Ooh,
fixable,
no, more.
fixable.
I
More?
think that's like a 75% through crack. That's it's
I'm saying,
pretty much all the way.
circumference-wise.
I'll give you a
Regardless,
circumcision.
That's not what he said. Just want to throw that out there.
circumference.
Different words. That's why we use them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they're close, so you get to spin
So
them.
I'll throw. I mean, I already have a price to to weld a titanium crack shut. That's fine. So not a big deal. I still made out like a bandit. I mean, it's
Yeah.
a $1,200 exhaust, brand new. Got it for half the price shipped.
You said titanium, right?
Titanium.
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 Yes.
Not
very-
aluminium. Titanium.
Not
Titanium.
adamantium.
Exactly. So the bike finally sounds really good, and it cleaned up the tail of it. I'll
Yeah.
show you a picture later, but because I got the LED tail light for it as well, which I threw on yesterday. Because if I showed you a picture of the bike factory, they did the 0708 ZX6Rs when they were designed. They were like, "This is a very good bike." Holy shit, we forgot the tail light. Slap it on. And they just literally, they're like, wow, they just slapped it on last second. They just put brackets on the exhaust. It looks totally out of place. Yeah, it's at the back of the bike, but it looks like it just was thrown on as an afterthought. So that, to get
I've seen a couple bikes like that.
Yeah.
And American too. Yeah.
It's like,
I don't get it.
so, luckily now I have it's like very clean, with the exhaust and the LED tail light. And, the things that it's waiting for the headers to get fixed and a Power Commander 5. Which is Power Commanders are just like it's like a tune for a bike, it's like an open source.
No
kind
lift
of thing.
shift,
Plug and
launch
play.
control.
All
Does
the
that have launch
things.
control from the factory?
Flex Fuel
Yes.
sensors?
It
Uh,
does.
So, Danny, what'd you do this week, automotive? Any
Well,
updates on the GTO?
GTO Chronicles Part 2. Yes.
It ain't a GTI though.
I finally cut the bolts for the thermostat housing. So the thermostat housing is installed. The fake Spectre fucking coolant hoses are installed.
Wait, fake?
How
Did
can
you
it
say
be,
fake or no?
Yeah.
how can it be fake if they're Spectre? It's already Spectre.
Yeah, it's the fake braided lines. Like the fake AN.
So it's like-
Wait, it's the
okay.
AN fittings with
I
the
was gonna say,
hose
how-
clamp in it.
I was just gonna say who
They
does
call
fake
them
coolant lines?
They call them Magna clamps.
I installed coolant lines on my Beetle.
So this guy, I mean, this is what he wanted. So we're just, give the
Water
guy what he
cooled
fucking
conversion.
wants. So we did.
you should tell him about the podcast, by the way.
So we gave him all that, but I did find out that he makes a mean pastrami sandwich, and I tasted some of the pastrami he makes, and it would put cats out of business. I'm not kidding. That's serious. I'm dead serious.
That's a bold move.
That's a fucking and
Bold
I
move.
back it up 110%.
So did you get the velocity stacks on or no?
No, velocity tanks have been abandoned. Coolant hoses were done. All the cooling system is done. We're going to install the flamethrower Sunday, tomorrow.
Oh, cool.
Tomorrow will
Cool,
be the flamethrower, and we started pulling the dash for the wiring for the
All right.
gauges.
Nice.
And my E30, the main hoop is partially bent, I think. Maybe. I'll figure that out
Like-
next week. And I should get that car back in about a week and a half.
Nice.
Cams I'm going to order tomorrow. And I bought the first thing for the car in a long time.
Which is?
ARP head studs.
For your
Oh,
BMW.
I saw that.
For the SR, yeah.
Yep.
So that was pretty
Cool.
cool. It's the first part I bought, which will lead to a snowball effect of wasting all of my money.
Casper, what'd you do automotive wise?
So I actually finally got in touch with a representative of the company that I have my motor warranty through for the Volvo. So there's no need to toss anybody's name out at this point yet. Thank you for the golf clap. I finally got in touch with somebody, and I was told that my situation was being forwarded to a handler who will apparently order me a replacement motor.
He knows a guy.
He knows the guy to get me a fucking engine. So we'll see what happens with that. But other than that, I actually purchased, for anybody that wasn't listening sooner, I purchased a 2008 Raven Edition R6 off of a friend. And I rode it back here in sub 50 degree weather, I want to say, which actually wasn't that bad.
Could be worse.
yeah.
It could be today. For example.
Yeah, it could be today. Today was not a day to ride.
Shout
but
out
it
to
was
Maluk NYC.
And,
Just joined.
about 100 miles. drive.
Bator machine.
Boom.
and Teggy.
Fucking 25 years. Enjoy life now.
So that's good.
Beard off.
great.
It's baby steps with the Volvo. I know
Truth.
I drove it over to your house today.
Indeed.
So it wasn't so I
Man,
didn't have
that was rough.
it was getting I tell you, it was getting to the point where my township was sending me bills for extra taxes that I had to pay because they saw extra
Smog.
structure being.
Smog.
No, it was a structure notice because they saw all the brick in the driveway from the Volvo sitting there. they drove past and like, well, that's a structure.
Who
I'm like,
buys
"No."
a cinder block with wheels on it?
I'm like, no, sir, that's not a structure. That is a Volvo 850 turbo.
They
by
were
the
built
way.
like that. Swear to God. I didn't do it. They did it. Fucking speeds.
So yeah, I drove that over to your house this morning in its last little gimp there, which was cool. But automotive-wise this week, I got tires for the R32 for Wookiees Prep. I went with
Nankang.
Yeah, definitely a nice solid Nankang. Kevin's on now, so he'll appreciate the Nankang shout out. No, I went with Nitto NT555 G2. Casper had them before, so I was going off his recommendation. I am a big Nitto fan, so it wasn't a hard sell for me. But it's my first dedicated summer tire I've ever bought. I went down to a 225 instead of a 235 because I want to be able to run a normal amount of camber. Mark 5s have shitty fitment, period. It's just the way it is.
E30s also kind of have shitty fitment.
It sucks.
We can't do anything over a 16-inch wheel. Otherwise, it looks kind of weird.
Mark 4s have good fitment. Mark 5, Mark 6, crappy fitment. Mark 7s have come back with decent fitment. You can get you can fit a lot underneath them. But yeah, in order to run a 235 in the rear, I have to run almost like -2.
Are you doing all the calculations so you can become Lord of the Stance?
Pretty much. Stance is life.
You're going H2O next year, huh?
No, I'm done with that.
So-
So I went with.
so you did go.
I went years ago. Yeah.
Judging.
I think my
What a
last
bitch.
the last year I went, I think was 2013. I think I went 2013. I still had my GLI at that point. No, I went with the Passat. So 2014 was my last year going. But anyway, so ordered tires. They came in. They're getting put on Monday with an alignment. And yesterday,
balance, I would hope.
well, yeah,
You gotta say alignment and a balance.
mount and balance and alignment.
Thank you.
Curva. Anyway, so
MBA, in other words.
yeah, NBN. So I yesterday I did the Haldex fluid and filter, and I did the rear differential fluid as well, and I swapped out on the R32, and I also did a new coolant expansion tank. I swapped out the
Oh, I saw
original
that
one, which is,
picture.
dude, it's amazing how much those plastic fades
it's
over
that-
the years.
It's a Europe. I don't know. It's actually not a Europe.
That's star-looking
And I'm
thing.
not saying this to be an asshole. It's not a
Yeah.
favoritism thing, but BMW doesn't have that problem. But if you notice, Porsches, Volkswagens, and Audis, the three of them,
Yeah.
because it's the same manufacturer, their tanks always yellow, and
It's-
people buy
yeah.
them all the time. 944s always yellow, and to get a tank is like $200+ for a replacement coolant tank. It's
It's a
fucking
complex design.
crazy.
I lucked out because I can buy OEM parts because I have an account with a dealership. I was able to get that.
NBN.
I was able to get that tank for like $11. So like for me, I couldn't go wrong. I've been wanting to do it we've had the car for 5.5 years. I've been wanting to do it all that time. So I
And
finally
it does
swapped
make
out.
like when you it's a presentation
Aesthetically.
thing. Yeah, it's a presentation thing.
But
You're
you know
like, wow.
what? Not even that, because one of the pictures I had posted on Instagram was actually looking into it. You could see all the buildup of dirt and anything that was inside. And I've flushed
Scaling.
that coolant like 3 or 4 times. So it's not the original coolant.
You only use the red and
G2
low salt. What
it's
is it?
the
Low
pink.
sulfur? Low sodium? What is it? Low.
G12, G13?
G12 and G13. Oh, they had G12. They had G12 Plus, and now they have G13. Yeah, and it's
It's
cut
all
with
pink.
it's cut 50-50 with mineral water or
No,
distilled.
Demineralized water.
Distilled.
Yeah, distilled
Yeah.
water.
So yeah, that's I've only used that in the flushes and whatnot. So, but yeah, even just looking inside visually, you could see the buildup in there. So, and I take care of it. I can't imagine what happens with people who don't take care of their stuff. But it definitely makes a difference. So, we have Josh from California. One of our California listeners, VDub family. I know Josh through the Passat community, actually, when I had a Passat. He said he did some adjustments on coilovers on a red 08 R32. And then he heated and reformed that guy's front fenders to from damage caused by from all the lows. I guess the guy doesn't know how to do fitment. So he did that. Zenki 718 said he took off his shot straight pipe.
Yeah,
Yes,
he
we
mentioned
want to
that.
take a moment to just appreciate that because I know what it's like to have a straight piped SR.
What car?
He has an S14 Zenki 240SX.
Oh, yes, S14. Okay.
With an
A
S13 SR, just like mine.
Okay.
He has a cam and he has pond cams in his Tomy pond cams, and the car is like a nice, tamed, quiet, nice sound with the cams. Beautiful.
But
I
then
only wish I could have that.
But then he put a straight pipe on it.
No, he had straight pipe.
He had a straight pipe,
that's
and
what I'm
now
saying.
it's gone.
He had blast pipes. He got rid of them to put a full exhaust on. He did a full exhaust, redid everything. His hangers, everything is perfect. Yeah.
Do it right, or do it twice. We have A Charles 94.
Ray Charles?
A Charles. I'm gonna put this out. Ray Charles, you should not
I'm
be driving a
sorry.
car. But A Charles,
But a bike.
Andrew's actually my old neighbor. We
Yeah.
actually lived in the same complex.
same complex.
Yep, the one that you guys actually stayed at. He used to-
Casper's
that-
Pocket
You guys remember
Zippers.
that blue Beetle at my complex?
The light blue one.
The light blue Beetle on my apartment complex?
The one by the train tracks?
No, not that one.
The apartment complex that you guys stayed at, you and Danny.
most
for
recent
Cars and Coffee. There was that blue Beetle.
Oh, the
He's
one
the
where
owner.
all of you went to sleep like a bunch of little bitches, and me and Mike stayed up drinking pint bottles of fucking Stella.
Yes.
To like 3 a.m.
Yes.
Playing Dragon Ball Z.
Why are
Yes.
these Stellas so expensive? They're pint bottles, sir. I'll take them.
Yes, please.
So anyway, A Charles 94 said he rebuilt the carb on his Beetle. He did a timing belt, water pump, axle, and tie rod on his Mark III.
He's got a Mark III now? Shit.
Wait.
I know he has a Mark II.
I know he's a Mark II.
I don't know if maybe that's a typo. I don't
Might
know.
be.
I don't know. He had a Mark III.
E-Rose.
Yeah, E-Rose.
Casper doesn't have pocket zippers. Or does he?
Casper's
No,
pocket
he doesn't
zippers. He
have
said.
In the pants or in the sweater? The
the
sweater does not. The
pantalones.
pants do.
Maybe he's referring to your other pair of
Your
pants that does
Slavs.
have the pocket zippers. Yeah.
It's the Slav pants.
It is love squad.
very good. Yes.
They do Slovings.
So,
Slovington general.
but I think that's where we're at. We're gonna kind of wrap this up.
Yep.
Wrap
We'll
you
finish
up.
out on
Smoke
and
it.
We'll keep
I
Instagram
am
live going.
fucking
here.
hungry. Let me tell you,
I'm
John.
pretty
Well,
hungry.
I sat 20 minutes for a fucking Dunkin' Donuts sandwich, so I mean,
I know you're still
being
hungry though.
overdramatic.
We're going to put the Coopersburg Dunkin' Donuts and the Hellertown Dunkin' Donuts on blast. Do not go there. Boycott them. They're horrible with their decisions and how they do their service.
and their math.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, they're pretty bad, man.
They're
but
piss poor.
if you want to go to Dunkin' Donuts in Lehigh Valley, go to Hamilton and Cedar Crest. That's probably the best.
I'd
Tim
rather
Horton?
go to
Tim
Helen.
Horton? Tim Horton today?
Tim Horton is life.
We could do Tim Horton in Allentown. Today. I
I'm
think
gonna
we should
Google
do
that once.
What
we
is the
log
name
off.
of this area, by the way?
What, in the area?
Yeah, like
You have to go
that
to-
Shell. That Shell Dunkin' Donuts. What town is that?
That's Coopersburg.
Okay, I would rather
not
go to
far.
Helen Keller's Dunkin' Donuts than Coopersburg again.
That's not far. That's considered Coopersburg, and this is what, Center Valley?
I am the outskirts of Center Valley. Like, I'm probably...
Center Valley is kind of like a whole region.
Center Valley is more over toward,
Uh-huh.
like, that way.
So when
Yeah.
when you give your fucking 45-minute spiel of, I beer detailer in the Center Valley area, you're not
Slash.
in the
No,
Center
my
Valley?
address is Center Valley.
Oh, okay.
It is.
Oh,
I-
you're like on that
I'm
borderline
the
kind of thing.
I'm the outskirts of Center Valley.
Is
I lived in a neighborhood that was
Yeah.
like that. I was Middle Village, Glendale, and Ridgewood all in one.
Is this
we would
spelled-
get mail, and it would be all fucking different things. It made no sense. For any listeners on Gear Shift that have a Yamaha FC08 or FC8,
8.
it's FC8 or FC08.
FC8.
8.
If anybody has one or has experience with one, please let us know, or just me. Boost me up, Buttercup, because
Yes.
I am looking to buy one, and I would like to hear input from riders who have actually ridden them
Yep.
and see.
And I have a
Doesn't-
question for Christoph.
Yes, go ahead.
Is this spelled Center Valley as in
two words.
T-E-R, or is it T-R-E, like
Ooh,
Centre?
Good question.
That's very
No,
European.
center.
That's
It's
very,
center.
it's very European.
Centre
to say
is
it,
European.
R-E.
It's not centre.
It's not. It is. It's American.
It's center.
America?
It's stupid.
T-E-R.
Like the dumb way.
Yeah.
Like you don't spell color as in
Theater.
What a U.
C-O-L-O-U-R. It's color.
I farted again.
Color.
and we don't do
Color.
we don't do theater. R-E.
The theater.
Theater.
We go down to the theater.
Tater.
Theater. Theater.
Bring me
So we
down
go
to
down-
them tater tots.
We go down into moving pictures.
Can you do
Motion picture cinemas.
That
bring me
Larry-
them down there movie taters?
That Larry the Cable Guy, man, fool, he makes me laugh.
Let me tell you something. They said you couldn't fight in a movie theater, but I fought it in a movie theater. Let me tell you about it.
I'll tell you what.
Done
Give me a netty ass and a Molson ice, one for
you
me and
shit
one for
yourself?
my sister.
who shit themselves.
I digress.
On that note,
It's the
You're
carbs.
gonna have to do something about that.
Yeah, give me a can of Febreze and I'll shove it up my ass.
Okay, so break.
it's fun.
So next week's gonna be episode 9. We're gonna be talking about weather. We're gonna be our best meteorologists.
Really?
That's not true.
That's
We're gonna-
that's
driving
you should
conditions.
okay.
Driving conditions for the most part. Driving conditions versus weather. That's pretty much what it's going to come down to.
It'll be a good time.
I don't have anything else to call it other than the weather episode.
The weather episode.
Weather's a
I
big
did
deal
see a
for-
bike today online though that was for sale with ice tires on it, spiked ice tires. Yo, how sick was that?
That was
it was
insane.
it was Tommy's bike.
insane.
It was a Kawasaki 636 2007, $2,200.
Are you
with
serious?
fucking ice tires, spikes, and I was just like,
1.5 inch spikes. Like,
1.5.
be-
Wow.
yeah.
like, I mean, they were
serious.
big
Where?
spikes.
It was north, I would assume. I didn't
North.
look. It was
North.
fucking not.
Down in Florida.
To the north side.
Serious stuff.
So next week we're going to talk about driving conditions and different types of weather.
Yep.
We thank you as always for listening, man.
You're
this
great.
is we're actually, this podcast will put us over 2,000 listens.
Really?
Wow.
It
Yeah.
will.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
That's fucking great.
This, as of going in today, we're at like 1,900 or so. So we
passed 1738.
We did pass
Yeah,
1738.
yeah.
Bet.
Thank you all very much for your support. If you want to be able to contribute to us and keep our dreams and aspirations going, please go to patreon.com/gearshift. You are able to donate there. Please drop us a line at gearshiftpodcast@gmail.com if you have any questions.
Or if you want to be on the show.
Absolutely. Any ideas for episodes or want to be on the show, drop them there as well, too. TheBeardedDetailer.com/gearshift for any contest information and submission can be done there. That's it. That's it.
That
That's
is
all we
it.
got. So
You can also contact myself or Mike. I mean, we'll tag
you,
ourselves in the
Christoph.
video.
Yeah, no.
Let us know if you have any questions regarding bikes and anything else.
Yeah, actually, if you guys do have any questions about bikes, these three are more of a plethora of information than I am. I'm very subdued with my little information. But
Just means you need a bike, boy. That's all it means.
but we really want to thank Danny for coming back and for Mike for you being
It was my
here.
pleasure. I was glad to get free beer.
Boom.
Thank you, Christoph. Thanks for having me on the show.
I know it's a bit of a drive for you guys to come out here, but we really appreciate it and
Appreciate it?
appreciate
We
it.
appreciate it all.
I
We
mem-
Apache it all.
I remember.
Be very Pacific in your words.
But
I bet
Dan,
it's-
but Dan, do you remember?
Oh, I remember.
Every time.
I remember.
That's too good. Too good.
It's too spot on.
Oh,
All right, thank you, everybody. Thanks for joining.
yes, thank you guys very much. And
Thank you.
And until next week, this has been Gear Shift.
Gear Shift Podcast is a production of Gear Shift. If you have any questions, please email us at gearshiftpodcast@gmail.com or visit us on Facebook.